He tries to enter the beginner's village like everyone else, but the system suddenly freaks out. System errors appear, with red warnings everywhere. It says he skipped proper procedures and gained levels in an abnormal way. The system even starts auto-resetting all his 99 levels. He panics and screams like a lunatic as 20 years of hellish grinding get wiped away in seconds. When everything finally settles, he checks his status window again. All his stats are still insane. 99 points everywhere except luck. Only his level got reset to level 1. Because of this, some of his skills are locked and special items are unusable, but honestly, he doesn't care. With stats like these, leveling up again is easy. To him, this is still a win, so he opens the map and sets his destination, the beginner's starting village, Irkus. You may wonder why his level was so high in the first place. Well, 20 years ago, when he was just a little boy walking around an academy for adventurers, a crazy old man abducted him. Yeah, just straight up kidnapped him after deciding the kid was a genius. This old bastard is obsessed with power and turns the boy into his personal project. No mercy, no breaks, just brutal, soul-crushing training day after day. Push-ups with the old man sitting on his back, non-stop punishment, and constant lectures about levels and stats. During one of the brutal training sessions, our boy Han mentions that the current top ranker in the whole world is level 89. But the old man laughs and calls it pathetic. To him, anyone under level 99 isn't even worth mentioning. Whenever Han doubts him, he gets punched in the head and sentenced to even more training. 10 years pass, then 20. Han grows up in that hell, never understanding why he doesn't just delete his character and quit. Eventually, the old man tells him he's taught him everything and can die without regrets. Han pretends to act like a filial son, hoping to trigger a quest when the NPC dies. It works. The old man gives him a location tied to his fate, releases a terrifying aura, and finally dies. That's how Han finally escapes 20 years of nightmare training. Now back in the present, Han successfully enters the beginner's village after the system resets him back to level 1. Han steps into Irkus, struck by the realization that 2 decades have slipped by. His eyes sweep the area, taking in the plaza he'd wandered through as a kid. Merchants are out selling their wares, people sit around eating, and the place buzzes with life. The peaceful energy feels nostalgic, reminding him just how deeply he misses it all. Finally, being back here feels damn good. Without wasting another moment, he turns and makes his way toward the hunting grounds, exiting through the west gate. But as he reaches the gate, a guard blocks his path, asking what level he is. He replies that he is just level 1, despite being 26 years old. That stuns the guard. Seeing that he's obviously a newcomer, the guard suggests heading through the east gate instead. He points out that since this is the west gate, it would be way too risky for someone at level 1. Han asks if the area is off limits, but the guard shakes his head and says it isn't restricted. He just really wouldn't recommend it, because at level 1, he wouldn't stand a chance even against a fanged rabbit. The guard keeps urging him to train on the east side first, but he flashes a cocky grin, thinking he'll be fine anyway. He moves forward while the guard silently sighs, realizing this kid clearly won't listen. The guard figures he probably assumes he can just respawn after dying. Even so, it feels like a stupidly reckless move. A quest prompt pops up in his system right then, and he understands the guard is simply worried for him. But now that he has accepted the quest, he decides to give a little performance. He waves casually, and that's when a fanged rabbit lunges at him. The guard rushes forward, yelling to dodge, but he calmly smashes it with one punch, gaining himself some experience points. The guard freezes, stunned into silence, wondering what kind of shit he just witnessed. Doesn't this guy say he is level 1? Han confirms it with a nod, thinking that guards should be able to sense player levels. The guard replies that he can detect levels, but even then, this is beyond belief. He starts questioning what crazy tricks this kid is pulling. Han just keeps grinning like an idiot, deciding to keep his secret to himself. Then out of nowhere, an enraged boar charges straight at them. The guard's face drains of color as he shouts at him to step back, but he remains unfazed, smirking as if to say, "Don't worry." The guard knows that beast is no laughing matter, but Han clearly doesn't give a shit about his warning. He drives his fist into the boar, bringing it down instantly and earning himself another level up. The guard watches in disbelief, his mind refusing to accept that a total beginner can pull this off. He mutters that Han must be insane. At this point, it is obvious. Han pockets the 30,000 gold reward he earns from that laughably easy quest. It feels pretty damn satisfying. His actual stat levels sit comfortably at 99 across the board. He figures he can deal with the details later. For now, he aims to hit up a higher level hunting ground. A quiet laugh slips out as he walks away, feeling like his life has finally broken free from the hell it used to be. After 20 brutal years, his hard work is finally paying off. He hopes things will keep running smoothly from here on out, but just a few days later, he gets dragged into a ridiculous mess. His eyes narrow as he thinks, "What the fuck is this shit?" A system notification blinks in front of him, declaring he has committed murder. The chaos system activates, slapping him with a killer's mark visible to literally everyone. In those past few days, he has been pulled into random incidents that spiral into endless misunderstandings. Suddenly, NPCs begin crawling out of nowhere to attack him. Each one mistakes him for a criminal with a fat bounty on his head. Then it hits him. This is all thanks to his -99 luck stat. With luck that shitty, every NPC out there believes with absolute certainty that he is the culprit. One even jumps him from behind, and driven by instinct alone, he strikes back, killing him instantly. It isn't like he wants to kill anyone, he is just fighting for his life. But of all the chaotic events out there, it just has to be the nastiest one. The system plunges him into a max chaotic state, slapping him with all sorts of penalties. He knows he is utterly screwed. And it isn't just NPCs anymore, players start coming after him too. The players chasing him are screaming, calling him Getrock, the infamous serial killer. He dashes through the streets, completely baffled at why the hell they are labeling him that. Anyone who manages to kill a chaotic user like him can earn hero status. So now, every wannabe hero out there is hell-bent on hunting him down, thanks to his max chaotic state. He ends up backed into a corner with nowhere to run. The players surround him, telling him it is over and he should just surrender quietly. But he doesn't even think about giving up. He turns around, eyes cold and dangerous, and without warning, a massive blast rips through the air, wiping out every single player in an instant. He doesn't feel an ounce of guilt. He only does it to survive. After that, he goes into hiding so nobody can track him down. At least those idiots help him level up. 2 weeks later, buried deep within a jungle, he checks out the max chaotic penalty status. He will have to lay low for at least a year before the max chaotic state disappears. He figures if he is going to be branded as a villain, he might as well be one who eats well and lives comfortably. Becoming a hero? He throws that idea straight out the window. With all his stats maxed at level 99, there is nothing worth worrying about. Then, a thought creeps into his mind. Isn't it hilarious how after 20 years of brutal suffering and relentless training, the system tosses him into this bullshit? Just when he believes life will finally get better, it hurls him into a max chaotic state without a single damn warning. He is sure of it. Zeus has his hands all over this. The bastard god is probably cooking up some twisted special scenario for him. The following morning he wakes up to a sight so absurd he nearly laughs. A whole group of men are kneeling before him. His mind reels. What the hell is happening now? One of the elders, tears streaming down his face, declares that laying eyes on the descendant of the absolute ruler has made his life complete, and he can die happy. They welcome him as the Sky Devil's absolute ruler. He sits there stunned, wondering what fresh madness this is. Right then, a system notification appears in front of him, an SSS-class quest. The system has officially recognized him as the Sky Devil's absolute ruler, no questions asked. SSS-class quests are the pinnacle of all quests known to humanity. In 200 years of Olympus history, they only show up 3 times. With stakes that massive, it is no surprise an SSS-class quest's main storyline will always unfold at a national scale or higher. He hesitates, wondering why in the world this has been handed to him. As he watches every NPC bow before him like they have been waiting their entire lives for his arrival, he understands he has become entangled in a far larger tale. One Zeus has been quietly weaving around him for 20 whole years. Han starts reading some sort of history that talks about 7,000 years of chaos. After the war ended, harmony returned, and the world was divided into 3 forces. The most notorious among them was Centenia, which had an absolute ruler named Gracia Mentas. He had 14 wives. The 7th wife gave birth to a son, who in turn fathered another, and the story keeps repeating down the generations. But seeing the elders bowing their heads in front of him, he figures he can't skip it. It might look disrespectful. So he continues reading, learning about the supreme ruler of that time, Shurtera, who eventually rose to power. Shurtera had taken the blood of the devil and was stronger and more cruel than anyone else. It's said that all the heroes of the world feared him. But during a rebellion, he was defeated through a honey trap. Not killed, just defeated. After that, Shurtera retreated into a cave and started regaining his strength. Han suddenly realizes that his own old master is a direct descendant of this Shurtera. The system keeps guiding him, showing him the steps he needs to complete before finishing the quest. Han thinks he's supposed to go to Seoul. He turns to the old men and asks if they really are Sky Devil elders. Their leader smashes his head to the ground and says they are, thanking Han for recognizing them. But the truth is, our boy is only trying to get rid of this ridiculous quest. He's never even heard of these people. Han lies and says his teacher told him that he's meant to lead the Sky Devil elders and revive the glory of the former Sky Devil across this continent. The elders begin crying, bowing their heads in happiness. Han realizes these are the 7 elders, and now they're completely loyal to him. He orders one of them to take the lead. The elder rises and informs Han that he has already eliminated all the insect-like bastards that were surrounding them, trying to kill him. The moment he joins the elders and becomes part of the group, his body begins to glow, and he instantly reaches level 9. Han starts wondering just what kind of enemies these elders must have defeated in the past. Han turns to one of the elders and asks for his name. The old man replies that he is Luxo and he holds the position of first elder. Han tells him there's something they need to do. Luxo bows and asks Han to give the order. Han says he's currently bound by a special restriction. Even though he followed his master's advice, he can't use his master's skills. His mind remembers everything, but his body doesn't respond. The elder nods, saying he figured as much. But Han reassures everyone. He tells them to believe in him, because he is the absolute ruler. He promises to lead all the elders to the place where the sun shines. The old men begin preparing themselves, calling Han their lord. The system notifies him that the Sky Devil's loyalty has increased. Han grins and decides it's time to start heading toward their destination. Outside the game, in the real world, Han heads to the kitchen for some coffee and bumps into his sister, Han Se-ah. She tells him her alliance pulled off a good quest this time, but there's a serial killer named Getrock on the outskirts of Centinea. Han pretends like he doesn't know anything, even though he is the very killer she's talking about. His sister goes on to say the killer wields dual pistols and is around level 40. She's heard he can even defeat a 7-member party by himself. She says if anyone manages to catch this guy, the incentive would be 3 million gold. Han finds that odd. He wonders why she's only getting 3 million when the actual bounty is 100 million. She gets embarrassed and says her union gives them lots of perks. But Han thinks that's total crap. She and her friends do all the hard work. His sister laughs it off and says if she ever gets that reward, she'll treat him to barbecue. Han thanks her, then decides to log in again. Back in Olympus, Luxo informs him that someone is following them. Han thinks they should identify who it is first. He tries texting his sister in-game, but she's on a completely different continent, so the message doesn't go through. That rules her out. Suddenly, a figure creeps in behind Han. It's the real Getrock, who starts calling Han an impersonator bastard. At first, Han is confused, but when he sees the 2 pistols in the man's hands, he realizes this is the real deal, the notorious wanted criminal. The guy is furious at Han for impersonating him and promises to make him pay with his life. Our boy is actually glad he learned about this guy from his sister. Although his own stats are relatively high, the enemy is still level 40. Han wonders what will happen if he fights someone with a 30-level gap. He smiles in an evil way and reminds himself that he's not alone. He calls for Luxo, the first elder, who appears instantly. The criminal is stunned. He has no idea where this old man came from and couldn't even detect him. Han gives the command to kill. Getrock, full of confidence, says he'll just kill them both. But Luxo is so fast he vanishes on the spot and, before Getrock can even finish a thought, his head is already on the ground. Luxo calmly sheathes his sword while Han stands there absolutely shocked. Han remembers that Getrock was believed to be at least level 40, so now he's wondering, is Luxo just that powerful, or was the criminal weaker than he thought? Han feels a little embarrassed that he couldn't even see Luxo's movement, but he's confident that if he had his eyesight skills, he could have read the mana flow. The old man hands him the criminal's severed head, while the system grants him experience points and the full 100 million gold reward. It's a reward for eliminating the infamous serial killer. He praises the elder, then reflects on how things have changed. He couldn't even land a job before because he was max chaotic. Han puts on a masterful performance, determined to follow whatever scenario or quest the system throws at him, and give his all in his journey to become a monarch. 2 weeks later, Han roams through the jungle while all the elders around him defeat any sort of enemy or animal in our boy's way. Han reaches level 13 already, which is incredible pace considering how others usually take years for this much progress. He has a skill called Heaven-Breaking Ghost Art which requires at least level 40, so level 40 is when things are really going to start for him. He thinks about all the elders and guesses it's like a company that obtains items using full swing, leveling, and Sky Devil lackeys. Now he looks at the bag with the criminal's head and wonders what he should do with this. In the real world, Han hops on his computer and searches where's the best place to sell expensive items. One of the messages advises him to sell it in-game in Olympus. Others agree with this message, but Han remembers he can't even use any of the public institutions in-game because he's a max-level chaotic. But the game currency is gold, which isn't even traded in the real world, and his personal information might get leaked or stolen. His sister suddenly appears with a bright smile. He thinks she's right on time as she wonders what's going on. She assumes maybe he needs some pocket money, but he embarrassingly clarifies that's not it. He asks what she's going to do if he gives her the criminal's head. She gets confused at first and starts laughing, wondering why he would give it to her even if he had one. She jokingly advises him to just buy a hamburger if he really has the criminal's head, and hopefully he can buy one for her too. He becomes serious and says they should do 50-50 while she is still confused seeing him so serious. Sia reminds Han Getrock is literally level 40. She thinks even if he came back from dead, she doubts he was able to kill the criminal, and she also heard he can't even go to other places because of his shitty training. But Han tells her he already escaped a few days ago, and he honestly already got the criminal, which shocks his sister. She reminds him that the criminal's level is 40, so how is he able to kill him? Han embarrassingly laughs and says the criminal died when he hit the guy, and his estimated level is 99 himself. He reminds his sister he actually sent her a screenshot. 10 years ago, she remembers she received a message of her brother claiming to be level 99. She thought he was struggling so much to the point that he had started playing pranks on her. In the present, she embarrassingly smiles and says she thought the photo was edited. He doesn't care if she believes him or not. He just orders her to come to the mountains in Centenia if she wants to get the criminal's head. He is going to send her the exact coordinates when she logs in. She wonders why she needs to come all the way to a random forest for him, so her brother tells her he's a max chaotic. This news leaves her face colorless. In the game, the sister reaches the west gate and tells the guards she has some business in the mountains, but they try to stop her as she is going to be killed by some monsters instantly. She laughs embarrassingly and ignores all of their advices. They continue to stop her, but she waves back at them and moves towards the jungle. 3 hours after walking in the dense jungle, she thinks it's too quiet, and she remembers her brother promised he would get rid of all the mobs and monsters in advance. She looks around and realizes it's not just the monsters, but all the living organisms are totally gone. Suddenly Han pops right behind her. Sia starts screaming in shock. She gets scared by him and wonders why he didn't even make a sound as he came behind her. She also notices the insanely dense aura coming out of her brother. She realizes he wasn't lying when he said he is a max chaotic. She starts questioning whether he killed an NPC, but her brother ignores the question and gives her the bag containing the criminal's head with a bounty of 100 million gold coins on it. She can't believe it and wonders if she is dreaming, looking at the 100 million prize in her hands. She finally believes it is real, and instantly starts questioning how he even pulled this off, calling him amazing. Han just wants her to hurry up and go exchange it. He is going to kill her if she just runs off with the head. At the Adventurers Guild, the sister hands it over, and one of the staff members confirms the wanted criminal, Get Rogue's head, so the quest to shoot and kill the criminal has been cleared. The sister still can't believe this is done. The 100 million gold bounty gets paid out, and she starts imagining if she takes half of it she can eat any variety of her favorite hamburgers without ever worrying. But suddenly, her brother worked so hard, and his hard work is finally paying off. She heads back to the jungle and gives her brother his half of the money. Han notices she is handing over 99 million gold instead of 50 million. He starts wondering what's wrong, but he smiles brightly and thinks he deserves this much after 20 years of hellish training. He does not want to take his half, but he's still keeping 1 million as a little pocket money, as a thanks. As his thanks to her, he is happy to give her more, but she doesn't listen and just runs off. While running off, she says she only took the morning off, so she has to go back. He's left speechless while she promises to treat him to hamburgers today, so she hopes he comes and joins her and their parents to dinner. Han smiles and hopes she gets back home safely. He checks the 99 million gold with the exchange fees and taxes. It's about 80 million won in the real world. So much money in his first try. This is definitely his life's quest. So he doesn't even care if he's a max chaotic. The SSS class quest hasn't even started yet, and he's already earning so much money. And now he's in a position where he has 80 million as collateral. So when he clears the main quest, he has no idea what reward he's about to get. He hopes to reach level 40 as fast as possible so he can proceed with the quest. So to do that, he has to grow faster. So every minute and every second counts. In the evening, Han meets his sister in the real world, and since he's a max chaotic, he can't go himself, so he asks her to buy him some items in the game. She tries to decline as she just got off work, but he promises that if everything goes well, he is going to give her an allowance of 300,000 won every month. She agrees but wants 500,000 won instead. They make a deal, and Sia goes right back into the game. A few hours later, while he's completely tired, Han tries out his new clothes and items purchased through his sister, which can be considered equipment that increases the earning rate of his experience. But the biggest issue now is everything he just bought charged him 70 million won. For the first time in his life, he had earned money with his own hands. While his sister doesn't care what he's trying to do, she just wants him to give her her share of the money as she ran so much errands for him. Her sister completely wrecks his expectations by saying she wants 3 million gold for the first destination and then 300,000 gold for each. Han puts on a masterful performance, determined to follow whatever scenario or quest the system throws at him and give his all in his journey to become a monarch. Now he must do what needs to be done. He calls the elders so they can move forward and focus only on leveling up. The next day, Han reaches the Zeph Mountains. While Han is just minding his own business, a man in full armor notices him from the side and wonders who he is. The guy notices Han is a max chaotic, while one of his group members thinks it's perfect as he needed the fame. They all notice Han looks very weak, and his items are very shitty and basic, so they assume he must have died a lot coming here. The party leader thinks Han hasn't discovered them yet, which means his field of vision is quite small, so he's probably a beginner. He orders his whole party to prepare for battle as they're about to hunt down a max chaotic. As he drifted through the forest, Han noticed the place had gone dead quiet with no monsters left lurking around. Out of nowhere, the system piped up, warning him that some outside force was trying to lock down his body. Han honestly felt jack shit, but the squad tailing him, plotting to take him out, started freaking out about how he was shrugging off their magic trap. One of them threw out the idea that maybe he was some kind of mage, but they still thought his gear looked like absolute crap, assuming he probably died so many times he lost everything he owned. Their archer knocked an arrow, while their boss just snapped at everyone to quit yapping and finish the job already. The leader barked at one guy to keep him busy so he couldn't warp or blink away while he and the assistant manager planned to close in for the kill. Right as they were gearing up to attack, he glanced back at them with a stare cold enough to freeze blood, giving them a final chance to scram before he tore them apart. But the idiots called bullshit on him, convinced he was bluffing. Their leader charged him with every ounce of strength, and he casually asked what their levels were. The massive hammer slammed into him and bounced off like it had hit steel, so the manager followed up with a sword slash, but that didn't do shit either. The crew tried syncing up their attacks, arrows flying in from the archer, but everyone was left staring in horror as his health bar didn't even twitch. Sizing them up, he guessed the dude swinging the huge sword was probably level 40, built like he was pushing late 20s. Meanwhile, the archer kept analyzing him, completely convinced he wasn't packing any solid armor and hadn't even muttered a spell yet. So the archer started thinking maybe he had already activated some hidden magic. He gave a quick signal, suggesting he had come prepared for them. The leader looked ready to piss himself while he stood there, bored out of his mind, thinking their attacks felt like toddler slaps. Deciding he'd had enough, he prepped to counterattack. Since his skills were sealed, he planted his feet and settled into a basic fighting stance, ready to start swinging fists. The archer, of course, assumed he was about to cast some insane spell. Trying to play it safe, the archer yelled at everyone to keep back while he prepped an unspelled shot, but he had already smashed his fist into the director's face, sending him straight into dreamland. The system chimed in to let him know his crime stat was spiking again since he kept assaulting other players. The knight with the hammer roared in rage and charged, but his raw power made the guy look like a joke. His crime stat kept climbing, and he blinked in surprise as he dropped the so-called tank with just one punch. The archer and support crew just stood there like idiots, realizing they didn't even get the chance to use their buffs. Their leader and manager screamed at everyone to just fucking run for their lives because this fight was so far out of their league. The archer tried to back off too, thinking they'd seriously messed up picking a fight with this monster who definitely wasn't some average mage. But before he could bail, he was suddenly right behind him, creeping up like a damn ghost, and the archer's brain short-circuited wondering how the hell he moved that fast. He flashed him a vicious grin, all bright teeth and murderous vibes, reminding them that they were the ones who picked this fight and now they were running away like cowards. The archer realized with a spike of terror that he had been saving his blink skill this whole time just to screw with them. There was only one type of player who could move like that, a high-level, melee-focused battle wizard pushing above level 60, someone like the infamous Hunter Rufendal. He beat the absolute shit out of them, and by the end of it all, he'd already climbed to level 16. Once he finished wiping the floor with them, he decided to spare their lives, and the system popped up telling him that his merciful choice boosted his loyalty points with the elders. He unlocked a new skill called Charisma. He had zero clue what Charisma actually did, but it sounded fancy enough, so he just rolled with it. Out of nowhere, Luxo showed up behind him, saying there was something he needed to show him, and hoped he'd follow orders. 7 grueling days later, he finally trudged into the Sky Devil hideout, looking like a half-dead zombie from hunger and exhaustion, cursing under his breath about why this damn place was so far out. He thought back to how he'd gotten dragged into this. One second he'd been chilling, the next an elder told him to come along, opening up a portal smack in the middle of a desert while mumbling something about the adventurer's column. He had been hyped about racking up step-up points just by walking, but he hadn't expected to be walking for an entire freaking week. The elder finally announced that the village was up ahead, and he felt a burst of hope spark in his chest. He silently begged the universe for food, but when he laid eyes on the filthy, half-collapsed village, his soul sank as he wondered if this run-down dump was really what they'd been heading for. Taking in the sorry sight, he felt his head spin, thinking his master probably screwed this place over big time. The locals looked like walking corpses from starvation, but they immediately dropped to their knees, calling him their absolute ruler and savior, convinced their god had arrived. The system threw him a quest to restore this crapshoot of a village on the verge of collapse. As they bowed low, he managed a weak smile, feeling like he was about to straight up drop dead from hunger. An ancient man, Prophet Carl, who was apparently 163 freaking years old, stepped up looking relieved that his lord had finally shown up. He gave him the rundown. Turns out this dude raised 12 elders here, hidden away from the Empire ages ago, and those elders had spent their entire lives searching for the descendant of the absolute ruler. Problem was, this area was a wasteland with no monsters, animals, or farmland, but he just thought the whole thing was stupid as hell, wondering why they didn't just get supplies from somewhere else. The old man insisted it was impossible since none of them, not even the elders, could fetch supplies from outside. He realized his first job now was to somehow keep everyone from dropping dead of starvation. He called Luxo over and asked how long these people could hold out without him. The elder guessed maybe 2 weeks max. Climbing a nearby hill, he addressed the villagers, saying he understood how starved and desperate they were, but he'd been stuck training his ass off, so he hadn't been able to care for them. Now, though, things were going to change. He swore he'd sacrifice everything he had to keep them alive. 2 weeks was enough time, he thought, so he asked them to hang on a bit longer. The system showed their morale shooting up, and their loyalty towards him spiked hard. He turned to Luxo, telling him to tag along since 2 people traveling would be quicker, leaving the other elders behind to stand guard. Luxo nodded without complaint, and the 2 of them set out. He ordered him to handle any monsters they ran into and to grab any loot or valuable stones they dropped. He figured this quest might actually be a breeze. A week after Han and Luxo disappeared into the mountains, Luxo feels pretty damn satisfied that his lord actually prepped everything on time. He shrugs like it's obvious. He grabbed the easiest stuff first since they're short on time. He lounges on a boulder, eyeing the pile of bags stuffed with who knows what. Just a few days back, Han's sister got a message from him asking for a solid. He wanted her to grab a magic pocket and rustle up enough porridge to feed 800 people, then haul it over to the mountains like she did before. She almost choked reading it, wondering what in the actual hell he needed porridge for 800 people for. He set up the food plan through her ahead of time. When she arrives in the mountains, she's still mentally screaming about what the hell her brother's even doing. Han tosses her a blue stone as payment, leaving her stunned out of her mind. She starts spiraling, thinking maybe he's being funded by some big-shot sponsor or secret group, but he tells her nope, no sponsor bullshit. He just wants her to sell it and keep a 10% cut. Her face goes ghost white, but she writes it off as dumb luck, convinced there's no way her brother's legit pulling this off on his own. He also asks her to use the cash from selling the stone to buy him 3 wrapped portals on her way back. His plan is to connect wrap points from the mountains straight to the Sky Devil's hideout and the Sky Devil's village. That way, what used to take a whole week to trek would be cut down massively. Han calls it flawless, though dropping cash on 3 wraps at once almost makes him tear up. Back in the village, the 12th elder Erda is busy thinking that Han's been ghosting them all this time, letting them rot. And now, this punk thinks he can just stroll in and everyone's gonna bend the knee just because he's the so-called successor? Sure, First Elder Luxo's ready to die for him without a pause, but he knows damn well not all elders are on board. He's dead set that if Han so much as tries to screw with the Sky Devil village, or spits out a single lie, he'll finally have a reason to erase him. Eventually, Han makes his return, and the villagers go apeshit screaming that the absolute ruler's back with a boatload of supplies. Erda steps out, wondering what all the racket's about. His eyes nearly pop when he sees the porridge piled up, while Han just grins and shows off the haul. He says he wanted to treat them to milk and honey too, but if they ate oily stuff right after starving, their guts would probably explode, so porridge it is for now. He stands there shocked, trying to figure out how Han got his hands on that much food. The villagers, visibly relieved, start chanting absolute great ruler while cheering him on. This pumps his rep up even further. Everyone starts thinking there's literally nothing this guy can't do, and he flashes a wicked grin, calling them absolutely right in his head. He orders one of the elders to team up with Luxo and distribute the food while he heads inside, leaving them to sort it out. He knows food alone won't cut it. He needs to sort out clothes and shelter too. But for now, food and defense take top priority. Just then, there's a knock at the door. Han tells them to come in. It's Erda, who suddenly drops to his knees, begging him to forgive him for his lack of loyalty. He realizes Erda just gave in way easier than he'd expected. The elder starts bawling like a toddler, mentally kicking himself for ever doubting him. He thought this quest would be a long-ass slog, but the progress is shockingly fast. He flashes a sinister smile, thinking this is going pretty damn well. He tells Erda to chill. He admits he's still got a ton of limits on what he can do, so it's fair if Erda had a hard time trusting him. Honestly, he'd probably feel the same way. But now, he wants Erda to put his faith in him, and in exchange, he promises he'll repay that trust tenfold. He says all this with a bright grin, making Erda sob even harder, apologizing over and over. That whole little speech gets him officially recognized by the 12th Elder. Deep down though, he's thinking this guy's a total idiot. Meanwhile, Han hits level 19 and racks up a pile of step-up points. He starts planning to head somewhere to test out his new powers. He remembers Luxo warned him to keep his head down for now so the Empire doesn't get suspicious. The other elders gave him the same heads up, but he figures that if he needs a partner, Erda's the best pick since the guy's stealth game is top tier. Up in the mountains, he comes across a wild bear. He blinks, realizing he hasn't seen one like this before. Must be a giant bear or some shit. Erda draws his sword ready to slash, but he stops him. He remembers giant bears sit around level 40. Normally it'd take a squad of 5 or 6 to put one down, but he's the kind of guy who takes out entire squads solo, so he decides to solo the bear too. The bear notices him and charges. He leaps up and comes crashing down with a devastating punch, smashing the bear flat in an instant. He calls it easy money. He pockets 20,000 gold and a couple measly experience points. Erda, watching in stunned silence, starts putting even more faith in him. Looking down at the wrecked bear, he wonders why it couldn't even tank a single hit. Was the bear just pathetic, or was he just too damn strong now? Either way, he orders Erda to get moving. It's time to hit up Amantium Dungeon. Erda nods, and after a few days, they finally arrive at the dungeon's gate. Erda senses a bunch of presences inside. He agrees, remembering that Amantium Dungeon sits in the village of Beginning. It's a low-tier dungeon near Urkus. The difficulty's alright, and since everyone gets step-up points for clearing it, Academy students and Great Union instructors often come grind here. He smirks, thinking back to how he flattened that giant bear with a single blow. He starts wondering just how powerful those Great Union instructors actually are compared to him. With that, he steps forward and tells Erda to tail him quietly using those stealth skills. Inside the dungeon's designated safe zone, a student mentions it's only his second run here, but he's still shitting bricks. Chatting with his buddy, he says he just hopes to clear it this time. That's when both of them spot Han, the infamous max-level chaotic dude. Panic hits them, and they dart off to find their instructor, silently praying he'll step in and save their asses. Then struts in this smug bastard, staring him down like he's some fearless idiot. Earlier, while he was busy hunting monsters, Han noticed a bullshit fact. None of them drop any loot when he's the one doing the killing. He pulls up his stat window, only to see his luck stat sitting at a pathetic -99. That basically tanks his drop rates too. Feeling like the universe is being an asshole, he wishes the Elder could just land the final blow instead. As he keeps to himself, an instructor strolls over, demanding to know what he's doing here. Han recalls his sister giving him a heads up about instructors from the Great Union lurking around. Most of them are above level 40, so he'd better watch his step. Looks like she was spot on. These arrogant pricks really do like to stir shit up. The instructor repeats his question, wanting to know why he's loitering around, but he throws back a counter question, asking why the dude thinks he can talk down to him. The instructor scoffs, claiming he's met plenty of guys like him before. If he just bails now, he'll let him off. Reading his stats, the instructor sees he's only level 19 with 0 decent gear. He writes him off as trash who probably kills students just to hawk their dropped items. Han, confused as hell by all these wild accusations, figures it's better to de-escalate since these are just kids around. He tells the instructor to chill out and keep teaching, explaining he's just here to clear the dungeon. But the instructor isn't buying it, sneering that he already knows what he's plotting. Suddenly, the system pings a warning that the safe area is about to vanish. The instructor orders his students to hide behind him. Everyone quickly realizes this guy's a Guild Union instructor. Annoyance flickers through him, and he snaps at the man to piss off since he's not trying to start shit. The instructor just writes him off as another bluffing loser. Han repeats that he's not here to mess with the students like some pathetic scumbag. He only wants to clear the dungeon. But the instructor yanks out his sword right as the system announces the safe zone is gone. Moving in to kill, the instructor calls him an arrogant bastard. His patience hits rock bottom. He warns the guy one last time, but the instructor lunges at him with full force. His sword slices clean through him, but he just stands there unfazed. The instructor gapes, wondering if he's using some weird-ass magic trick. Han shoots him a death glare, asking if that pathetic attack was all he's got. Fear creeps into the instructor as he realizes he might not be just some skilled newbie. There's something deeply off about him. In a panic, the instructor tries calling for backup, thinking this level 19 chaotic freak is using some hidden skill. He reminds the idiot that he already said he wasn't here to cause trouble, and had even given him a final warning. Fed up, he retaliates, smashing a punch into the instructor's gut. Shock floods the guy's face as he registers he just tanked his blade and countered barehanded. He fumbles to call for help, but a massive explosion of light erupts, swallowing the entire area. With that single move, Han finishes him off. The students huddle together, checking if everyone's alive. His eyes narrow at them, silently asking if they're stupid enough to fight him too. Heads shake furiously. He smirks, saying that's what he thought, then tells them to do their quests properly and grow into decent people. Not long after, he finds himself deep in thought, mulling over his actions. He wasn't trying to hurt the kids after all. Looking up, he sees he's reached a defensive fortress, surrounded by skeleton soldiers wielding weapons. He figures this must be the dungeon's fortress sitting smack in the middle. Remembering the guidebook's advice, he knows he has to crush this fortress before moving to the dungeon's final stage. Since he's not getting any loot drops anyway, he doesn't bother wasting time on the bloodthirsty skeletons. Ignoring their murderous glares, he charges straight for the fortress. The system starts screaming warnings about how pissed off the monsters are and how badly he's about to get hurt, but he couldn't care less. He thinks maybe 10 solid punches will be enough to take it down. But with just a single blow, the entire fortress collapses like it's made of wet cardboard, leaving him kind of disappointed. Wasn't this fortress supposed to be sturdy as shit? Still, he's glad it went down easy. Without missing a beat, he moves ahead to clear out the remaining area. A little while later, the instructors who'd been called by those panicked students finally arrive, only to find the fortress already reduced to rubble. Seeing as he's just a level 19 player, it makes no damn sense to them. They stand there dumbstruck, unable to process how he wiped out the fortress without even bothering to touch the skeleton guards. Maybe, they think, he had some insanely rare item. but the system abruptly announces the dungeon has been cleared, leaving every last one of them staring in utter disbelief. They call it impossible, unable to accept what just went down. Inside the dungeon, Han keeps questioning why the place is swarming with skeleton soldiers wherever he looks. He figures for any normal level 19 player, this dungeon would be a nightmare, but he's built different. He pushes through until he reaches the final stage, ignoring the skeletons that lunge at him from all sides. They don't faze him one bit as he casually logs in and decides to check if this last stage lives up to its name. He launches forward without warning and smashes into it with full force, silently hoping it doesn't shatter in just one blow. But unlucky for him, the final stage's shield crumples instantly under his punch. He frowns, wondering what kind of dumbass shield breaks that easily. Knowing the other instructors will come storming in any second, he decides to wrap this up fast. The system pops up, congratulating him for clearing the dungeon. He snorts, thinking to himself that this really was just another pathetic low-level dungeon if he cleared it without trying. He decides to spend the points he earned, pouring everything in until he finally hits level 20. Now he can finally head over to the Field of Darkness. He figures the instructors will chase after him for sure, but surprisingly, they haven't yet. He guesses they're probably camping out near the dungeon entrance instead. When he steps outside, his eyes widen at the sight of an entire army of instructors standing there, way more than he imagined. One of them screams out, demanding that the leader of the enemy forces show themselves. He just looks around blankly, thinking to himself that he's literally standing here alone, so who the hell are they even yelling at? He glances at the elder beside him, asking if he accidentally turned off his stealth, but the elder confirms he hasn't. The instructor calmly states that he understands exactly what Han wants and says he hopes they can avoid any pointless battle today. The man is clearly trying to diffuse the tension with his logical approach, but it only annoys him, who was actually looking forward to clashing with the instructors. Seeing them act like this feels off to him. He figures if he really starts fighting here, a few students will definitely end up dead. And honestly, picking off powerless kids isn't his thing. The instructor tells him that he'll let him go this time, saying he knows he probably doesn't want to throw his life away meaninglessly either. He decides to go along with it and replies that he understands. He never planned to fight anyway, and reminds them he already told the previous instructor not to mess with him. Without wasting another second, he walks straight past them, thinking his priority right now is reaching the Field of Darkness so he can hunt down players later. The instructor breathes a sigh of relief while his partner stands there silently, thankful that he managed to resolve everything without anyone getting hurt. Instructor Zergal brushes it off like it's no big deal. Earlier, Zergal had found out that the last instructor who crossed paths with Han ended up fighting him, which led to a few innocent students losing their lives, despite approaching cautiously. He cleared the dungeon at insane speed, probably just to make it obvious to others that he's got hidden support backing him up. Zergal knows there are too many kids here they need to protect, so their only real option was to push him away without provoking him. Meanwhile, another instructor stares at him, wondering who the hell this crazy bastard even is. But one thing he's certain about, Han is definitely a max-level chaotic. There's even a possibility that he's actually Rufendal himself. They all know Rufendal is supposedly level 50, but there's always the chance he used a cheat to hide his true level. Somewhere else, Rufendal is busy slaughtering multiple players at once using his death nail. He laughs coldly, telling them to scrub their backs clean as he ruthlessly ends their lives, mocking them to just log out of the game if they're gonna stay dead. He's a max-level chaotic through and through, and he's only here for the loot these people drop when they die. Farming their items feels insanely profitable. Suddenly, he remembers there's been some guy hunting him down lately, even though he's never crossed paths with him. People keep saying that these days, someone has been running around all over the place impersonating him. He thinks there's some wannabe Max Chaotic out there pretending to be him. Apparently, this poser caused a massive scene in the Amantium dungeon not too long ago. He knows if this continues, he could end up getting kicked out of the Great Union. Pissing off the Great Union is practically asking to die, so he decides it's time to track down this punk pretending to be him before everything goes to shit. Meanwhile, back at the Sky Devil village, Han returns and tells the elders they're heading out to a place filled with floating monsters this time. Among the elders, he knows there's one who specializes in long-range magic. Luxo instantly realizes who he's referring to, and an elder raises his hand proudly, saying he's the most confident when it comes to long-range spells. He figures he'll be dragging this elder along with him today. The elder nods with a sinister grin. Suddenly, he remembers it's his sister's birthday soon. Maybe he should act like a proper brother for once. He decides to grind extra hard today so he can buy her a birthday present and maybe an apartment later on. Arriving at the Field of Darkness, he sees players gathered everywhere. The system pings, warning him that monsters will respawn soon. He notes it's about to begin and asks Zeta, the elder coming with him, if he's ready. Zeta turns out to be a psycho bastard. He starts screaming that he'll obey every single command his master gives. Snap bones, peel skin off, burn every last bit of trash blocking his master's way with hellfire, and rip apart anyone's limbs if they dare stand against him. Han is slightly confused by how fired up the old man is, thinking this back alley vibe is seriously freaky. Nearby, some players notice he is a max chaotic. One of them thinks this is his chance to become famous, and his friend nods in agreement. He orders the Elder to destroy these fools before any reinforcements arrive and to catch all the monsters, especially the blue storms, while every player in the field of darkness is focused on killing the max chaotic first, meaning him. He knows he can always warp away later if he wants, so he asks Zeta why he even bothered bringing him along. Then he orders him to prove his long-range magic right now. The crazed old man nods, swearing he'll never disappoint his master. He raises his hand to the sky, silently wishing for his master's future to shine bright, as a blinding purple light floods across the entire sky. Zeta summons the god of evil and commands it to march forward and obliterate anyone daring to stand in his master's path. Players start screaming in terror, running for their lives. He coldly orders the massive creature to stomp them all into the ground without mercy. Han praises the Elder's performance, thinking it's about time he showed off some of his own skills too. His killer's mark grows darker, his sins becoming heavier and more visible. Word of his deeds begins to spread across the entire continent. The system pops up, declaring him a saint of murder, and even he feels a little shocked seeing that title appear. Once a max chaotic player crosses a certain notoriety mark, they're tagged as murderers, and when these murderers go up against anyone holding the hero title in PvP, their attack and defense stats tank hard. If they die, their resurrection cooldown shoots up to 240 hours, and the chance of dropping items during their next awakening hits a guaranteed 100%. But Han, sitting at the top as Skydevil's leader, glances at the system window, wondering if this notoriety counter will keep ticking up. He brushes it off, thinking it'll work out anyway. His charisma stat climbs, and Skydevil loyalty rises alongside. While the humans keep flailing around trying to handle an Elder, he figures he'll check in on that mess later. He's got to finish clearing this place first. When the battlefield finally goes quiet with everyone down, Zeta flashes a vicious grin, and he figures they're done here. Then, something catches his eye in the distance. He senses they've arrived. The system flashes an alert, chaos inbound. Bull has entered the scene. Suddenly, bull monsters come stampeding straight for him, but he's unfazed knowing Zeta can mop them up. The Elder looks like he's about to butcher an entire steakhouse worth of cow meat. He throws him a compliment, telling him to wipe out every last monster. As for himself, he decides to throw hands, hoping at least one of these bulls can survive a single hit. But nope, same old story. His punch deletes it instantly. Still, he pockets 18,000 gold coins for the effort. Seeing the gold trickle in, he decides to keep brawling while the Elder gathers up loot, slaughtering everything in sight. Together they fight like a cracked duo, while two players watching from afar whisper that these two must be insane. One mutters this is just average dungeon farming, but his friend scoffs, saying there's nothing average about that sword guy, he's gotta be some close combat mage. They're talking about Zeta, clueless that he has an attack skill up his sleeve. They insist he's definitely a mage since he didn't even budge when wiping out their squad earlier. His friend nods, betting he's at least level 50. Zeta suddenly leaps skyward, screaming about glory to his lord and master, before slashing down with a purple attack that vaporizes an entire monster pack. He thinks that's overkill, but whatever. The system pings, showing he's leveled up. He tells Zeta to focus on gathering stones while his own skills cool down. Zeta instantly gets to work. He pockets 7 blue stones, hyped at how insanely fast they're farming. Just then, the boss monster spawns. He figures they should just finish up and disappear quickly. He spots the boss monster as the two distant players stare, recognizing it as the Chaos Bull King, a hulking bull with a humanoid body. He thinks it's his first time seeing one of these freaks. He orders Zeta to sweep up the small fry and grab their drops while he sizes up the Chaos Bull King, thinking it's definitely beefier than the usual field bosses. He hopes this thing at least drops 20 blue stones in a bundle. Deep down, he wants the boss to survive a direct blow so Zeta can land the final hit. Before he can act, Zeta points towards a group of strong presences closing in. He realizes he won't have time to finish the boss before they arrive. He thinks it's best to bail, so he tells Zeta they're pulling out, cursing how damn annoying this is. The humiliation burns. He hates feeling weak like this, but he swears he'll revive the Sky Devil's glory on this continent. Tears sting his eyes thinking of the lost bluestones as they sprint away, leaving the two onlookers staring after them in confusion. Back in his room, he checks the game's notice board for any monster patch announcements, but finds nothing. He wonders why the Black Chaos Bull showed up earlier when it's never been released before. Must be his cursed -99 luck acting up again. He can't tell if that's a good omen or a death flag. Either way, he regrets not just punching the Black Bull to death and snagging a bundle of stones. He reads a post saying hunting ground difficulties have suddenly jumped without notice, now hitting level 97. One player shares they went to a Mantium dungeon today, and it was hell. Black Skull soldiers appeared out of nowhere, and some mobs were so brutal they couldn't even escape. Another talks about getting ambushed by a giant black bear in the jungle. People in the bear territory wonder aloud if the game devs secretly tweaked the standard difficulty. He realizes these are all places he's visited recently, the exact spots being discussed. He starts wondering if this mess is happening because of him. Scrolling down, he finds more posts. One mentions spotting a new black monster in the dark desert today. He instantly knows it's the same beast he ran into. They also say the max chaotic player who wiped out the Chaos Cows earlier bolted when the Black Chaos Bull King showed up. Later, high-level players swooped in, killed the Black Chaos Bull King, and it dropped 3 bundles of bluestones, around 30 in each stack. Everyone in the comments calls it insane loot. Reading that, his face drains of color. He curses at his own miserable luck, thinking about how those bastards just banked 90 bluestones. Tears start rolling down his cheeks like an idiot as he mourns what he lost. After tallying up his haul today, 11 bluestones and 5.5 million gold, he figures he can only cover about 3 days of food expenses, roughly 36 million gold worth. Factor in exchange fees, taxes, and his sister's share, and he's left with just 15 million won, not even enough to buy her a decent present. Staring at his current specs, he grumbles that with all this effort, he should at least own a house and a decent car by now, but his low actual level keeps him locked out of high-tier areas, and he can't even use most of his skills thanks to all the penalties stacked on him. The situation is painfully clear. He sighs, knowing there's only one option left: grind levels like a madman. Elsewhere in an office, a man finishes giving his report, stating that his ability levels have jumped sharply. Sitting on a chair, a shadowy figure asks him about the Black Chaos Bull. The man confirms it's true, adding that the monster's overall strength has skyrocketed. The figure leans back, realizing this isn't some run-of-the-mill monster. He tells the informer to keep the hunting operations going as usual, but to bump up their manpower. Users are disposable to them anyway, so finding replacements won't be an issue. This cold-eyed man is none other than UN Director Young Wook-hyun. The informer nods, but before he leaves, the director brings up another matter: the masked Kyoto player wreaking havoc in the desert today. His expression hardens, saying this has to be the same bastard who's been messing with their alliance for ages. 3 weeks later, the system shows his level has climbed again. Wearing a stern expression, he thinks it's about damn time now that he's hit level 29. Luxo shows up, worrying aloud that his body will break down after 3 weeks of non-stop marching. Though touched by the old man's concern, he brushes it off. Even with so many restrictions on him, he refuses to accept weakness. He vows to show his students the full splendor of this world, and promises Luxo he'll live to see the day when everyone bows to the Sky Devils. Resting isn't an option. Day and night, he'll keep running forward so Luxo doesn't have to worry. Just support him. The words move Luxo to tears. He bows his head low like a fool, swearing he'll support him until his body collapses. In his mind, his real motivation is crystal clear: an apartment, a slick sports car, and his ultimate dream of owning an entire building. He flashes a sinister smile, but suddenly a direct message pops up. He figures it's from his sister. She asks if he got this quest too, mentioning how these quests have been appearing everywhere lately. He frowns, curious about what it could be. Reading through, he realizes it's tied to the 7th constellation. Han looks at the system window and sees the quest, which shows a challenge to become the 7 constellations. It wants him to annihilate a group of evil and challenge them to become a constellation who guards the peace of the continent. He wonders what group of evil it's talking about. He thinks it doesn't sound good and wonders if it is referring to him. He opens his PC to see what other people are saying about this. The whole server is pretty chaotic. Everyone is talking about the new quest that just popped up. He reads everything, and his sister also takes a peek. She calls it a mess. He agrees with her and wonders why they are always so mad. He doesn't exactly know what the hidden class is, but if it's connected to the main story of Olympus, the strength they can gain must be something they can't even imagine. Sia asks if her brother is going to challenge the 7 constellations. He highly doubts any NPC is ever going to give him a quest because he's max chaotic. He asks if she is going to give it a try, but she says she is not sure. She doesn't think she has the time as she is already busy working with the Union. She gets a bit embarrassed but says only rankers with a lot of free time and foreign players would take that. He didn't think of this. Anyways, he feels like the difficulty of hunting grounds he went to has increased, and he also thinks this quest is identifying him and the Sky Devil people as the absolute evil and proceeded with the story. If he thinks his deduction is true, then the 7 constellations with the hidden class will be coming at him at the same time in the worst-case scenario. He was hoping to just live a peaceful life, but if he doesn't do anything soon, he is probably going to be in trouble. So he thinks he should get strong no matter what. He connects to Olympus, and as soon as he logs in, he tells the elders he is going to travel on his own this time, which shocks all 3 of them. They all start screaming why he changed his opinion so quickly. They think it's too dangerous, so he needs to reconsider ASAP. But he says he knows how loyal they are. But it's just that based on the information he got, the Empire has directed their movements. So they need to be careful this time. He has to go alone this time. The elders get teary hearing about this and hope he takes proper care of himself. While he thinks since the quest for the 7 constellations is ongoing, bringing them out is only going to trigger the Empire even more. He hopes they just guard the village properly, as they haven't even begun yet. He calls them his precious idiots. And since he needs to get acknowledged by the other elders as soon as possible, it was fortunate for him to get recognized by Erda so quickly, but he needs 4 more still. Somehow he was able to fix the shortage of food, so it seems like he can start solving problems about the shelter. But he's spending a lot already, so there isn't anything much he can do about it. So all he can do now is level up as crazy as possible, so he can reach level 40, and then he will be able to use the heaven-shattering ghost art, and proceed with the map his master left, and other quests. Maybe then he can find some other ways to solve the problems. He knows he can't get any kind of good drops like the blue stones because of his shitty luck, but this is all he can do right now. He goes against a few black wild bears and thinks he can go on a killing spree and level up like crazy to prepare for the future. As they all charge at him, he defeats all of them instantly and gets a system notification telling him that he has now a skill known as Unordinary Powerful Fist. He wonders what it is and maybe it's going to help him hunt. After taking a closer look, he learns that it's a skill that literally reduces his own power and lets the monsters live. Even though it's a shitty skill, he starts celebrating like an idiot as now he can farm items with this. From now on, he can just let others get the last hit. Maybe he can buy a pet and let it get the last hit to get some good drops because his own luck is shitty. He feels glad and decides to head back home right away, but someone creeps behind him and says he has finally found him. He thinks it is definitely him who he was after. He turns back and remembers something similar happened like this just a while ago. The mysterious man questions if he has any idea how much trouble the guy got into because of him. It is Lupendal, the max chaotic criminal, who is being framed for what he is doing these days. And no one even fucking believes his words. Lupendal is talking about the Great Union bastards. He looks like he is here to kill him just to fix his reputation. He stares at the guy, completely blanking on who he is, though he picks up on the thick, nasty, evil aura swirling around him. Lupendal stands there, dumbfounded, wondering if he's just screwing with him or if he actually has no idea who he's looking at. Lupendal questions if he even has a functioning conscience left as a human being. He really hopes this is just an act, but it's clear he's clueless. He just smirks and calls Lupendal amusing. That pisses Lupendal off immediately. Anger sparks in his eyes as he snaps, saying he's Lupendal, the same damn name he's been using to impersonate him this whole time. Lupendal's come to haul him in and hand him over to those Great Union bastards, making damn sure he understands just how deep in shit he is. Lupendal wants him groveling, begging for forgiveness at his feet, but seeing his indifferent face makes him decide this idiot needs to pay for stealing his name. Thinking he must be scared shitless right now, Lupendal hopes he'll just give up quietly so he can smack him around a bit and spare his life. But he just shrugs like it's nothing and says they should stop wasting time and start fighting. Lupendal calls him a lunatic, sighing that he didn't want to get rough with another max chaotic. But screw it. He decides to go all out, charging straight at him, hoping the guy doesn't croak from his first hit because Lupendal wants to beat him down properly. He takes the blow right in the chest, and his HP bar barely budges, just a measly 3% drop. He feels totally underwhelmed that this is the criminal everyone worships. Sure, someone in their 50s is on a whole other level from the 40s crowd, but still. He activates a skill he'd only recently unlocked, settling into a firm fighting stance, ready to counterattack. Using the skill, he slashes his own damage by 90% so he doesn't accidentally kill the dude in one shot. Meanwhile, Lupendal thinks he's activating some ridiculous high-level skill. If it's really what he suspects, this is the same bastard who took down the Great Union director in a single hit. That skill must be insanely powerful, probably takes ages to charge and carries massive risk. As Lupendal's mind races with all these assumptions, he suddenly blurs forward, closes the distance, and clamps a hand around his throat. He slams his fist into him before retreating just as quickly, wondering if his punch even landed properly. Lupendal scoffs that he was a moment too slow since he'd managed to throw up a barrier in time to block it. He clicks his tongue in mild disappointment, thinking it's a pity he didn't get a clean hit. But now he knows Lupendal can handle something harder, so he amps his damage up by 40%. Lupendal figures he's just spouting random bullshit to stall for cooldown. Normally, if a player's next skill is ready, they don't waste time chatting, they just fire it off immediately. Convinced he's wide open, Lupendal charges forward like a rabid beast, only for him to smash his fist into Lupendal's face so hard it sends him soaring backwards. System alerts flash up, displaying how every barrier and shield Lupendal had instantly shattered under the impact. Lupendal skids to a halt on his feet, realizing this bastard's far more cunning than he'd expected. He figures out that first punch was just bait to test him, while the second was the real strike. But he can tell he's far from satisfied, meaning something didn't go as planned on his end. He curses internally about how Blink is such a pain in the ass. If only he already had Eye of Mind unlocked at level 55. Lupendal starts pouring out all his aura, the dark energy flooding the entire area. he decides this next move will finish it. He's determined to end him here and now and drag him off to the Union alive. As he watches him, he remembers hearing that Lupendal had some final trump card up his sleeve. He thinks it was called Heart Attack. Judging from that stance, it's definitely the one. But he's got his own plan. He deactivates his skill that dampens his damage, ready to unleash his hits at full power again. Lupendal assumes he's completely out of options now, too late to do shit. Screaming like a deranged animal, Lupendal charges forward once more. He mirrors him, and when they clash, the collision sends a violent shockwave ripping through the entire place. When the smoke finally thins out, Han's face goes blank while Rufendal stares, baffled that he's still upright. He was sure that heart attack spell should have finished him. He silently asks himself what kind of freak this guy is, standing there like nothing happened, while Han just eyes his corpse with mild disappointment, annoyed he actually died. Rufendal's fading thoughts wonder if Han's some secret martial arts class freak, while he's convinced Rufendal's just acting dead. He figures that one hit must have shattered all of his defensive magic. Han can't wrap his head around why he would go in for an attack when his own defense was already busted. For a second there, he nearly believed Rufendal was stronger than him. That last hit didn't even shave off 10% of his health. Rufendal might be dead, but his soul can still hear everything, silently praying Han will just stop talking. He, meanwhile, mutters about how Rufendal's damage output was pathetic and questions why he even bothered trying another move once his barriers crumbled. He calls him a dumbass and wonders out loud how a max chaotic player like him died without dropping even a single item. Han eventually figures it out. Probably all his gear broke mid-fight, leaving nothing to drop. The fragments scattered earlier must have been the remains. Hearing this, Rufendal's soul metaphorically coughs up blood. Those items were worth more than mountains of gold to him. Han shrugs it off, deciding that if everything broke, there's no way loot could drop anyway. He guesses he's ready to take on the level 50 zones now. Han preps himself to leave, thinking this victory should open up better hunting grounds for him. He leaps away in one massive jump while Rufendal's spirit sobs, cursing him under his breath, calling him a bastard and crying like a dumb kid, furious that this damn imposter was pretending to be him. He swears he'll get his revenge one day and beat Han's smug face in. He activates Soulbind, a skill that revives him instantly, and tries to crawl back into his body. But before he gets the chance, some cloaked stranger shows up, calling him a prime ingredient. The guy's face is hidden beneath his hood, and he mumbles about scoring such a top-tier corpse today. Must be his lucky day. Rufendal's soul reels back, wondering who the hell this bastard is and what he's planning to do. The mysterious man raises a hand and snatches his soul effortlessly. He mutters that he would have liked to snag Han's soul too, but this one will do. A chilling power pulses out as he converts Rufendal into one of his corpse puppets. The system chimes in, telling him he's permanently bound by restrictions unless he manages to break free. The hooded man smirks and orders him to drop and give him 10 push-ups. Rufendal's pride flares up. Why the hell would he do that? But the soul bind activates, electricity surging through him until he complies, doing the push-ups against his will while the cloaked bastard laughs, warning him to follow orders unless he wants worse pain. He racks his brain, realizing he's never heard of soulbind before. This must be some hidden class, probably a necromancer. Judging by his voice, the guy sounds pretty damn young. The robed stranger chuckles, mocking him for being so pathetic now. Rufendal thinks maybe he can use this guy if he plays his cards right. He calls the man master with a forced grin and brings up that other bastard from earlier. His eyes glint with scheming malice as he offers to help him catch Han. Meanwhile, back in reality, Han's treating his sister to McDonald's. She lights up when he buys her burgers. Exactly what she'd been craving. She shyly hopes she can get 2, maybe even 3. He beams like a doofus, staring at the burgers like a kid in a candy store before wolfing them down. Han thinks feeding those scar devils was hell, but spoiling his sister with burgers is a breeze. He lets her eat at her own pace. She blinks up at him, wondering why he's suddenly being so sweet. He used to scold her if she ordered more than one burger. She asks if it's because he's making money now. Han just blinks back, confused by what she means about scolding. He clears his throat and says he actually needs a favor. She guesses he wants her to buy him something again. He tells her his luck's been absolute shit lately. Not just with monsters, but also with drops since he's max chaotic. Some NPCs are willing to help him, but it's hard to use them properly right now. Raising a pet in this mess is out of the question. He pauses and then asks what she thinks about starting a whole-ass foundation with him. She nearly spits her drink all over him, staring at him like he's lost his mind. She asks if he's actually serious. Who the hell does something like that these days? He assures her it's not the type of foundation she's thinking of. She warns him that unless he's got solid info or funds, everything will just get snatched up by the Great Union, especially with all these black monsters popping up lately. The market's tanking. She reminds him his promotion's coming soon, so he doesn't need to worry about their house or money, but he should think this through carefully before diving in. He nods along, taking her words in, but he still wants to make her an offer. She exhales deeply and asks what he's planning exactly. Han starts explaining his plan. Elsewhere, inside the Union's meeting room, the director reports grim news. People are dying left and right in the dark wilderness. He mentions that Max Chaotic, who promised not to kill anyone unless provoked. The union leader cuts in, saying they've already issued an announcement telling everyone to leave itemless Max Chaotix alone. But the director doubts the one from this video is Rufendal. He brings up footage of Han and him fighting in the wild, saying they acquired it a few days ago. The Max Chaotic fought him in a direct PvP duel. The leader commends the director for securing such valuable footage. The director says he made a dumb move, going on the offensive after his defense spells collapsed. He fought desperately, which seemed off. After dissecting the footage, they concluded Han's a close combat martial artist at an insanely high level. But he looks so damn young, the director thinks he might have a hidden class. Judging by his reckless strength, he probably doesn't have full control over it yet. The director adds that during intel gathering, they also got a step-up quest from a noble NPC. The leader asks what it's about. The director shows his picture, and the leader frowns. He looks nothing like the guy from the video. The director agrees, saying he confirmed with the nobles again. Seems like the system labeled the Max Chaotic as Ramthadian, and killing him would lift the curse. The director argues it's smarter to hunt down someone they at least have intel on rather than chasing ghosts. The leader shrugs, saying all that matters are the stable points. He asks how many men the director needs. The director says 30 will do, planning to throw their weakest staff in first as meat shields to whittle the guy down. They'll pay out 100,000 won to the ones who die, and give 300,000 won bonuses to top contributors. One woman pipes up, asking if that's really enough, considering they're gambling their lives. Even if it's death inside Olympus, pain still feels real. The director assures her they'll get step-up points, and with their members' loyalty, he's confident they'll give it their all. He finishes with a smug comment about how people should grind hard while they're still young. The leader chuckles, saying 300,000 won is plenty as an incentive. With a total bounty of 700 million gold on the guy's head, the director plans to pocket 200 million himself. The leader gives the go-ahead, thinking 3 million is more than enough. He couldn't care less how many of them die as long as his wallet gets fatter. That twisted bastard ends his speech with a cruel smile. Somewhere up in the Lepnia Mountains, Seiya finally tracks down her brother. Han's face lights up at the sight of her, asking right away if she brought everything he requested. She nods, though doubts cloud her mind. She wonders if these really count as proper study material, seeing as they're basically starter magic manuals with weaker spells than what rookie mages use. Plus, she thinks there's no point trying to learn anything mid-job change anyway. With how insane his stats are, he should have picked a class ages ago. He asks if she's ever heard the phrase, "In the hands of a swordmaster, even a blade of grass becomes a deadly weapon." She blinks, saying it's new to her. He tells her it fits perfectly here. If someone has god-tier stats, a basic attack alone can become a kill move. He breezes through the entire stack of beginner books, absorbing their skills in minutes. He thinks it's kinda pathetic that with his specs, he's stuck playing Discount One Punch Man. She suddenly remembers he still hasn't done his job change yet, which nearly gives her whiplash. He points out that's exactly what he's been saying. She starts freaking out like a headless chicken, wondering how on earth someone with his absurd power is still unemployed. She thinks life is messed up. She even quit her guild job because she believed in him, yet here he is, jobless as ever. She can't wrap her head around it anymore and mutters, he better take responsibility for her since she's basically gambling everything on him at this point. He knows all of this already, which is why he genuinely feels grateful. Deep down, he's hoping they can rebuild the Han name together. He decides to experiment by tossing a beginner heal on his sister. She rolls her eyes, thinking it's just level 1 magic and won't even tickle her injuries. But he tells her to chill and wait. With just a starter heal, her wounds knit themselves back together, but she still doesn't buy it, and asks if she can drink a potion just in case. He tells her to check her HP bar first. She stares, dumbfounded, seeing her HP completely topped off. Her brain short-circuits in disbelief. He follows it up by tossing her both an attack and defense buff so she can try out her new strength. She looks around clueless, wondering who the hell she's supposed to fight. Maybe she should grab a skeleton soldier or something. He just points behind her, saying she doesn't need to bother. She spins around and nearly pisses herself seeing a hulking black bear. Not some magic beast, but an actual snarling bear, lumbering towards her. Terror locks up her limbs as she wonders if he seriously expects her to solo that thing when it normally takes a full hunting party. 3 minutes later somehow, she actually manages to take the beast down. She calls the whole thing insane but badass. He smirks, asking if she finally believes him now. She admits she does, especially after finding a blue stone in the bear's remains, worth 5 million won if they sell it together. He reminds her that if she hands it to the Union, she'll only get a measly 100,000 won incentive. But since they're freelancing now, everything they loot belongs entirely to them. He mentions he wants to boost her up to level 45 in the Field of Darkness. She's down for it, so they head out together. Once there, he struts around without a care in the world while a stampede of monsters chases after him. She joins in, chanting her spells. She blasts the charging chaos cows with a lightning bolt while he acts as bait. He tosses her a casual compliment as the battlefield rains down blue stones. They end up collecting 18 stones in total, and she nearly screams with joy at the thought of selling them for 90 million won. With that kind of money, she jokes she could open her own burger joint. He scans the area, noticing the place looks emptier than usual. He wonders if it's because a black monster started spawning here, since this spot used to be crowded as hell. Suddenly, a couple of players ambush them from behind, hoping to take down the Max Chaotic for the bounty, but he just casually shoves one away with his fist, purposely holding back his power. He wants to give his sister a chance to finish them off and loot their gear like last time. She kills the guy and picks up an item, but wonders out loud if this counts as straight-up robbery. He tells her not to worry, since everyone thinks he's just some bottom-tier Max Chaotic. They won't dare pick a fight with him, but if anyone does, he's going to crush them without hesitation. He gestures ahead, pointing out a whole army marching their way. She notices one dude who looks seriously high-leveled, probably around level 50, leading an entire squad behind him. Realization hits her like a truck when she sees they all came just to raid him. He confirms her suspicion. She panics, saying they should run before it's too late, but he thinks they're already past that point. She starts flailing in distress while the system coldly informs them they can't leave until they finish off all hostile players in combat. He tells her to calm the hell down, assuring her it'll be fine. He tells her to take a few steps back so it doesn't look like she's with him. He cracks a twisted smile as he eyes the dozens of enemies who came all this way for a solo kill. He warns them that if they choose not to attack first, he'll let them walk away alive. The army leader turns to his men and announces this is their target, the Max Chaotic. Drawing his sword, he orders them to follow the plan and give him space. This leader, it turns out, is an executive director named Jin. His mages begin chanting a binding spell to trap him in place, but disappointment washes over his face. He had warned them. No one had to die if they just left him alone, but it seems that's not on their agenda. He instantly shatters the bindings and launches a fireball at them. Jin scoffs, thinking it's just basic magic, and orders his tankers to throw up magic shields to block it. Jin assumes even if it's a high-tier spell, their enemy is a melee fighter at heart, so these weak fireballs mean nothing. He tells his ranged dealers to prep their skill combos the moment the blast is blocked. Every single person there is thirsty for the 3 million won bounty, obeying Jin's orders like obedient mutts, while he watches them with deadpan eyes. He wonders who he's fighting this time. Last time it was that Rufendal guy. An explosion suddenly rocks the entire field, and Jin barely survives, coughing as he looks around in shock. His entire army is lying there, lifeless. He blinks, unable to comprehend how his troops were wiped out by a supposed melee class wielding standard magic. Ordering a halt, he tries to process how such common spells caused this massacre. Doubt creeps in as he wonders if their enemy is actually a mage. That wouldn't make sense. If he were a high-level magician, he wouldn't be affected by binding spells anyway. But the strangest thing is, he hasn't even moved from his spot. Jin starts thinking maybe they should just flee while they can. He stays quiet, then mutters that it seems anyone dies as long as his magic lands. She chimes in, saying she's never seen a fireball do damage like that. He admits he didn't know either. She thinks he's still caught in the binding from earlier, but he tells her nope, he's free. She then asks why the hell he's just standing there. He says he was focusing on chatting with her. Besides, the fireball cooldown isn't over yet. He wants to test it out a couple more times on these clowns. As he starts chuckling darkly like an unhinged villain, she stares at him, mind blown, realizing her big brother isn't just some ordinary guy anymore. As the executive director starts to freak out, Han lets out a lazy yawn, looking like he's about to fall asleep now that his cooldown timer has ended. He thinks to himself that having to wait a whole damn minute is annoying as hell, while the executive director orders his long-range units to ready up and wait for his signal. The guy has no clue what's actually going on, and starts wondering if Han isn't a martial artist at all but some sneaky mage instead. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a different union leader receives an urgent call from Jin, who's desperately asking for backup because shit just hit the fan. He explains that Han turned out not to be a martial artist, so they need tankers over level 30 who can tank magic attacks. The union leader blinks and asks what the hell is happening over there. Jin tells him they've already lost 3 men. Luckily, the bastard is stuck in a trap spell, so his cooldown is still holding him back. But he insists they need to finish this quickly before Han wipes out even more of their squad. The union leader figures their intel was crap, but he doesn't really give a damn. He just assumes Han is smarter than they expected. He tells Jin to hang on because reinforcements are on the way, thinking even if they have to split the prize later, it's worth throwing in extra manpower right now. Back on the battlefield, Jin commands his archers to prepare their barrage. In his head, Han is still locked by the spell, so he jumps to the brilliant conclusion that he must be a wizard. Being the dumbass he is, he thinks this is their golden chance and orders everyone to fire. Han just flashes a wicked grin. The second line of guards opens fire with guns, and the third wave unleashes a rain of arrows, creating a massive explosion that sets the entire area ablaze. Jin yells for his men to keep attacking non-stop, determined not to give him even a second to regroup. He thinks the plan's going great. He couldn't care less about what class Han is. All that matters is keeping him pinned down and drowning him in attacks. His lips curl into a nervous smile as he tells himself that if luck's on their side, they might even cut Han's HP in half before the Union units show up. Out of nowhere, Han lunges forward like lightning and slices down one of the guards, leaving Jin staring in utter disbelief. He can't process what the hell just happened. Han was supposed to be trapped, yet now he's moving like a rabid beast, announcing his cooldown is finally up. He starts slaughtering the soldiers one after another, casting fireballs he's just recently mastered. Jin screams for everyone to stop him, but Han casually reminds them he told them to scram, or else they'd die at his hands. He turns completely unhinged, ripping through them like he's playing some twisted game. As they start backing off, he keeps shouting orders to hold the line instead of retreating. The Union leader suddenly steps up behind Jin, commending him for keeping the front together. He tells him that he'll handle things from this point on. Jin asks about the backups, and the Union leader says he's already contacted their associates. Taking Han down has become their top priority, so he's officially sharing the quest now. Reinforcements are mobilizing because he just announced a step-up quest. As Han stands there like a walking nightmare, the Union leader notices how many bodies he's already dropped in such a short time, but since they have 200 men here, he thinks there's no damn way they'll lose. He tells Jin not to stress too much. Han, on the other hand, notes his HP isn't budging at all since these guys are absolute trash compared to Rufendal. His region is off the charts, so their attacks are basically worthless. He chuckles to himself, thinking Rufendal really was strong. As he grins confidently, he muses that wiping out 200 people is going to be a piece of cake. From the sidelines, his sister watches the entire chaotic bloodbath, worried about whether he's okay. Han tells her to jump in and start attacking him too. She looks at him, confused, but he wants her to join so she doesn't look suspicious just standing there like a statue. She asks if she should zap him with a lightning bolt. He tells her to go for it, so she shrugs and decides, screw it, then launches lightning at her own brother. Right as the system notification pops up, he tells her to wait so he can check it, but he's already getting fried by her spell. The system announces Han has unlocked a completely new special class. She blinks, wondering what the hell this is about. The system declares he's reached an insane max chaos state, with his murderer mark growing darker and darker. He expected this to happen eventually, but not so damn suddenly. The system turns him into a heavenly murderous constellation, as his crimes start spreading across the continent. His power spikes even further, his eyes glowing like a feral beast. He checks his title window, which calls him the worst murderer born with pure murderous energy. Sure, he's getting some killer benefits from it, but being labeled the worst murderer feels a bit over the top. He sighs, feeling like he's walking straight into the path of absolute evil. As he cuts down more and more soldiers, he notices that with every crime he commits, the loyalty of the Sky Devil people keeps climbing. He also sees that one of his new effects will be insanely useful if he ever fights a hero-class opponent. Han thinks all of this while butchering the soldiers in front of him. Meanwhile, the poor bastards can't figure out if he's a martial artist or a wizard. They're completely clueless about what kind of monster they're facing. Han smirks and casually mentions he doesn't even have a class yet. That line alone makes the soldiers freeze in horror. They wonder what the actual fuck this guy is. The executive director turns to President Zhang and asks what their next move is. President Zhang realizes things have gotten way too delicate now. The old man assumes Han is just hiding his class to prevent them from exploiting his weakness. He knows every class has at least one fatal flaw. So, the president tells Director Jin to come with him as they'll take Han down themselves. He screams at Han, calling him a filthy criminal, and swearing he'll uncover his weakness and end his miserable life. But Han tears both of them apart effortlessly, stating there's no such thing as a weakness for him. He stretches his back, surrounded by corpses. That's when it hits him. His only weakness is that he doesn't have any area of effect attacks. He sighs, thinking he should grind levels faster and buy one soon. His sister asks if they can run some experiments together. He raises a brow, wondering what she's up to. She tells him he might have triggered a special class quest. They both head into a dungeon, and she tells him to brace himself as she buffs up. She fires a lightning bolt at him, actually managing to chip away some of his health. For once, he feels real pain, thinking her attack is almost as strong as Rufendal's final blow when she's fully buffed. Even though it hurts like hell, his regen speed is ridiculous, making him think it might be damn near impossible for him to die. She keeps launching attack after attack at him, refusing to stop. She continues hammering him with spells, and when he is finally on the verge of dying for real, she collapses from exhaustion. The system then reveals his true identity, Heavenly Murderous Constellation. It took her an entire hour to bring his HP down that far. He's too drained to even react to the title reveal, thinking it must have been part of the quest chain, and yeah, that's exactly what it was. He's the Murderous Constellation now. As monsters start creeping towards them, he decides to clear them out and tells her to wait there. The The system starts throwing out random bullshit notifications. Even though she knows he's acting like none of this is impressive, she watches as he casually slaughters the skeletons. He decides to go deeper into the dungeon, so he tells her he's heading off and she can just message him if anything happens. She nods, and the system notifies her that the heavenly murderous constellation has left. Because she's fulfilled the secret last quest requirements, her body begins to glow as she gets buffed up. She transforms into the 7th constellation right then and there. Han stands there wondering what the hell just happened while somewhere else. His sister completely morphs into her new form as the system starts piling her up with fresh buffs. She's left stunned at the sudden upgrade. Back in the real world, inside the Union's conference room, Effort Giver, the president, gives everyone a nod of gratitude for showing up and declares himself as the leader of their alliance. He sighs, apologizing for bringing this up in an offline meeting, then cuts straight to it. Their alliance is in deep shit right now. Turns out the Max Chaotic Red quest failed miserably after an unexpected info blackout. Because of that, tons of trading companies turned their backs on them, leaving the alliance battered. They're going to be kicking out some of their members. The members start whispering angrily among themselves, cursing out the Max Chaotic bastard who caused all this crap. They figure the leader must be losing his mind from all the pressure. But then, he suddenly starts grinning to himself. Everything is unfolding exactly as he'd mapped out. He apologizes properly this time, telling them they've decided to keep shading this quest. He admits he has no clue when they'll clear it, but promises that once it's done, every last one of them will earn step-up points. He figures that promise should calm them down for now, hoping their next meeting happens under brighter circumstances with a stronger alliance. Since there's always a line of people desperate to join, the twisted old man feels zero worry about firing these members. But what matters most is patching things up with the trading companies as soon as possible. He leans back into his massage chair. He decides to log into Olympus, thinking how all this drama wouldn't even exist if he'd just died back there with his subordinates. Rebuilding a trashed reputation is always a bitch, but he's willing to take the gamble because killing that bastard is their only way to bring the alliance back, even if it means using the billion he and the other board directors had stolen together. As he enters Olympus, he thinks this amount should be enough to put a price on Khan's head. Once he's inside the game, he heads into a tavern. The worker there greets him politely, looking curious about what brought him in today. The old man slides over a picture and says it's an assassination request for the murder veil. The worker studies the photo, raises an eyebrow at how tough the target is, but shrugs and says, "Murder veil can handle it." He asks if the payment's ready. Without wasting a second, he hands him 1 billion up front. The worker says 3 days will be plenty to get it done. The old man knows damn well that Murder Veil and Black Floral Group are the Empire's 2 top assassin syndicates. That Max Chaotic punk is about to get wrecked. Even though it feels like ripping out his own guts to spend 1 billion gold in a single day, he reassures himself that he'll earn it back 7-fold once Khan is dead. And with step-up points raining down on everyone, this is the smartest move he's got. He steps out into the open field past the safety zone. Now he just has to wait 3 days. But the moment he steps into the forest, someone slices his head off cleanly, killing him instantly. As he dies, he realizes he's just been assassinated, but his brain can't process it because he didn't even sense shit. The system pops up, informing him he'll remain in a soul state until he logs out. Floating there like a ghost, he turns around and sees a masked man calmly drop a slip of paper onto the ground bearing the Black Floral Group's insignia. He stares, completely clueless about why they'd come after him. The masked man says this is only the beginning and that he was ordered to slaughter him. Meanwhile, back at Murder Veil's headquarters, one of the men reports to his boss that he handed over the job to Black Floral Group, just like he was told. The leader assumes the target must already be worm food. A smirk spreads across his face as he thinks it's time for him to take action based on this request. The subordinate comments that they could have just handled the old man themselves, but the leader stands up, radiating a terrifying aura that makes the entire room tense up. He tells him to shut his mouth and follow orders unless he wants to get killed right now. The red-haired leader, his overwhelming presence practically shaking the room, announces that he'll personally take care of this contract and tells him to spread the word. He exhales shakily, relieved he still has his head attached. Stepping outside, the red-haired leader thinks to himself that finally, the time has come for absolute evil Han. For 30 long years, he's been the founder and ruler of Murder Veil. In that time, he's faced countless dangers, but the ultimate evil he's been waiting for still isn't complete. He figures there must be restrictions holding him back, but that's his problem to deal with. This man, known as the Second Elder, Yorhan, plans to judge for himself if Han is truly worthy of being called the absolute ruler. Somewhere else, Han is left speechless when he realizes his sister has already reached level 30. She grins, explaining that ever since she changed classes, her levels have been skyrocketing like crazy. Now she's the 7th constellation pure white mage and has already hit level 31. He points out she's got 0 step-up points left, but she just shrugs it off, saying she doesn't even need them now that she's earned her spot as the 7th constellation. She thinks to herself that this must be why people lose their minds chasing class upgrades. It's just that damn awesome. Still, she thanks him. knowing full well she only pulled this off because of his help. He is left reeling, figuring she probably switched classes just by hitting him once. If that's the case, then he really must be pure evil. She tells him she wants to go hunting with him sometime. But he starts realizing that if all 7 constellations can level up this easily without burning step-up points, he's screwed in the long run. All he ever wanted was to eat good food and chill, but at this rate, his sister hitting level 99 isn't even out of the question. Since she was part of his group earlier when they fought in the field of darkness he created, he sticks some cognitive impairment gear on her so he can whisper directly instead of risking chat messages outing her identity. She politely asks if she can keep tapping him with her attacks every now and then. That's when he gets a system notification warning him she's officially become a platinum-ranked hero. He figures if she's ranking up to platinum just by chipping away at his HP, this is going to bring him a whole world of annoying attention. He tells her she can keep hitting him but reminds her to avoid killing him and to take it easy. She lights up with happiness. Her grin turns mischievous as she jokes she hopes she gets to finish him off someday, since smacking him around already boosted her levels like mad. With a dark gleam in her eyes, she asks if she can kill him, and he reminds her he's her brother after all. She fires back that it's only a game, and they can split the loot like always. He tells her if a day comes where he has to die, he'll let her be the one to end him. The idea of killing her brother practically sends her over the moon. He only agrees because he's curious too, but in the back of his mind, he's wondering why the hell she's so excited about offing him. He decides not to dwell on it too much, and just feels relieved seeing how happy she looks after becoming a constellation. A few days slip by, and she takes down another Blackbeard like she's swatting a fly. The two of them breeze through the dungeon together without breaking a sweat. She snags some rare drops, and he tells her to stash them safely. He pulls up his stat window, thinking it's finally time to level up, but he's still short just a sliver of experience. He's right at the edge. He figures he'll go hunt down a few more monsters while she goes off to grab potions and supplies. He tells her to watch out and not to drop any of the loot on her way. She waves him off, saying she'll be back soon, and leaves. He figures she'll take about 10 minutes, and if he manages to kill enough monsters in that time, he'll hit the next level. But out of nowhere, he senses a crushing aura, and a voice cuts through the air. Absolute ruler of the Sky Devil. Yorhan materializes right behind him and presses a blade to his throat. He introduces himself as the second elder and declares that his time is up. This is a test to see if he's truly worthy of the Absolute Ruler title. Fail, and he dies right here and now, and the Murder Veil will waste no time issuing the kill order against him. His system pings with a new quest, the second elder Yorhan's ambush. The quest difficulty reads SSS. The system starts blaring out alerts, pointing out that Yorhan holds the top spot in stealth and ambush skills among the 12 Sky Devil elders. So Han's task is to take down the second elder, Yorhan, and earn his recognition. Another reminder pops up, warning him that if he fails to win over the Absolute Ruler, he's going to land himself in some seriously shitty trouble. He thinks that even though this is technically a side quest under the Return of the Absolute Ruler main storyline, it still carries an SSS rating. Considering his own sister unlocked constellation status just by punching him, there's a damn good chance he's the main villain in this whole scenario. And if he assumes that all the other constellations don't need step-up points like she didn't, then they're probably going to skyrocket in growth with insane abilities. Some of them might even break past level 90. Worst case, if he ends up throwing down against every constellation solo, it only makes sense the system would toss him SSS++ quests to keep the universe balanced. He turns to Yorhan, who tells him to get his weapon ready. He thinks to himself that this guy's already figured it out. Yorhan knows damn well he doesn't have any weapon on him. He questions internally why he even needs to prove himself to this guy. Yorhan looks at him, wondering what exactly he's getting at. He's pretty sure that if Yorhan really wanted him dead, he wouldn't be wasting time with this dumb conversation. That just confirms he's another loyal lackey hoping for the Sky Devil's comeback. He thinks that's only natural for someone like him. He reminds Yorhan that he's under a special restriction, and it's on the verge of being lifted. Yorhan slides his knife away, so he plays along, saying of course he's weak right now. Pathetically weak. That's why removing this damn restriction takes ages. He figures everyone's been holding their breath waiting for him anyway. If they can just hang on a little longer, he'll definitely become their absolute ruler. He has zero doubts about that. Still, he wonders why Yorhan's so desperate to crush that tiny sliver of possibility. He gets that Yorhan's in a rush, but he questions if the second elder won't regret it down the line. Yorhan goes silent after hearing that. One look at him tells Han the man is buying every word of his crap, so this is the moment to seal the deal. He says he knows Yorhan probably sees him as nothing right now, but soon enough, he's going to fully master the heaven-shattering ghost art his master left behind. Just 10 minutes. Yorhan's eyes go wide as he repeats the name, asking if he's really talking about the heaven-shattering ghost art. He demands to know if he's serious. He says of course if Yorhan just gives him a few minutes, he'll prove it right in front of his eyes. Deciding to confirm for himself, Yorhan cloaks into stealth, saying he'll stay hidden nearby and give him exactly 10 minutes. The system pops up, telling him he has 10 minutes on the clock thanks to Yorhan's mercy. He exhales sharply, feeling relief wash over him now that he's bought a bit of time. He's nearly got enough experience. He just needs to wipe out a few monsters. He leaves the dungeon, thinking with his -99 luck stat, monsters basically throw themselves at him anyway, so this will be easy. But the second he steps outside, reality smacks him in the face when he runs around and finds not a single monster anywhere. Normally, there'd be a bear or skeleton chilling here by now. Tears start welling up as he questions why nothing's spawning when he needs it the most. He breaks down crying, cursing the universe for leaving him empty-handed exactly when it counts. The system shows he's only got 30 seconds left. He realizes maybe fighting Yorhan head-on would have been the better call, but then he remembers how Yorhan almost sliced him apart in a heartbeat and doubts he would have survived. The system updates, 20 seconds remaining. Panic sets in as he racks his brain for another excuse to buy time. But no matter what bullshit he comes up with, he doubts Yorhan will give him any more leeway. Right then, his sister bursts out of nowhere, saying she's been hunting him down. He snaps at her to get out of here because it's dangerous, but she just looks at him confused. She charges towards him with an entire stampede of monsters hot on her heels. She tells him she worked her ass off dragging all these monsters here. At first, he just stares at her in disbelief, then starts laughing like a deranged animal as he rushes forward. She watches him in confusion as he sprints right past her, yelling at her to run first and promising he'll reward her properly once this is over. He tears through the crowd of monsters, slaughtering them left and right, leveling up to 40 just before the timer hits 0. Now that he's hit level 40, he wastes no time activating his skill just as the second elder materializes behind him, casually telling him not to lag behind. The system windows flicker into a golden glow, confirming he's cleared the requirements and unlocked heaven-shattering ghost art. A burst of golden radiance explodes out of him, giving him tighter reins over the Sky Devil. On top of that, he's got an edge now even with his physical skin specs. He mutters under his breath that was cutting it close, but he's pretty sure even Yorhan has nothing left to complain about. His title of Murderous Constellation gets stamped in for real, and he wonders what the system's cooking up this time. All of a sudden, it announces him as the absolute evil, and a torrent of savage energy pours out of him. The second elder freezes as the realization hits that he really is the absolute evil. He lets out a tense laugh, thinking he knew this was coming, but actually getting branded as the absolute evil feels sickening in a weird way. He decides to check his status first. Reading that he's now the absolute evil, he sees a flood of new abilities stack up, learning that heaven-shattering ghost art can push even further beyond. System notifications keep spamming like it's on steroids, bombarding him with wild new powers back to back. The second elder collapses to his knees, bowing his head to him and begging forgiveness for doubting him earlier. He tells Yorhan it's fine. He would have questioned himself too if their positions were reversed. He's just relieved he's finally been recognized as Yorhan's lord. Behind that calm smile, he's scheming. He's dead set on taking Murder Vale for himself now. Yorhan swears his allegiance to him, clearing the quest in one smooth motion. He congratulates himself, knowing there's only one elder left to deal with. He tells Yorhan he's counting on him, but suddenly stops mid-sentence as his sister starts spamming him with messages. He quickly asks if she's alright. She brushes it off and tells him to focus on what's important, asking if he saw the announcements just now. He replies that it's absolutely insane out there. Apparently news just broke that the absolute evil has been born. The community's in total meltdown, desperate to figure out who the absolute evil is so they can clear the quest easier. She tells him that if he joins her to hunt down the absolute killer, his max chaotic is probably going to get wiped. He feels a bit awkward since she's basically talking about him to his face. He adds that his stats have already blown past 100 thanks to her help. She immediately asks how much he jumped. He answers with a casual 19, shocking her because gaining even a single point is supposed to be impossible. She stares blankly, wondering what kind of nonsense he pulled off this time. She decides he must have just gotten stupidly lucky doing random shit again. First, she congratulates him, though it's obvious she's struggling to process it. Her heart's racing so fast she thinks she's gonna pass out, so she logs off Olympus to calm down in real life. She knows her brother's never been normal, but this is too damn much. She shakes her head and decides to just head out for a breather. Back in the game, he thinks even she couldn't handle it this time. He wonders how the hell he's supposed to explain that he's actually the absolute evil. He pushes the thought away for now, deciding to focus on getting his SSS class quest reward first. He tells Yorhan to keep going. He silently prays he gets all of Murder Vale as his reward since that would make fighting constellations easier and raking in cash a lot simpler. The second elder begins by saying there's something he wants to report. He nods for him to continue, so Yorhan explains he'd like to share details about Murder Vale's current power and situation. Before he can get another word out, a group of unwelcome intruders shows up. The second elder instantly fades into stealth, while he clicks his tongue in annoyance since he was right in the middle of something crucial. A squad of soldiers stomps forward, calling him Remtadian. Their leader bellows that whoever kills Remtadian will walk away with a fat reward. He scowls, wondering why the hell these assholes are calling him Ramtadian again. He sighs, thinking these idiots really don't get tired of pulling the same shit over and over. The knight riding ahead figures Han's alone, so he tells his troops to charge at Aobar and bring glory to their Bavaria order. Han watches this swarm of soldiers coming straight at him. Normally, after firing up the heaven-shattering ghost art, you can feel how stressed NPCs get, but looking at these guys, he just sighs internally. It's his first time clashing with knights, but honestly, these must be the bottom-tier ones. The battle wraps up so fast it leaves him a little underwhelmed. The commander, meanwhile, looks like his brain just short-circuited. He's cursing up a storm, thinking sure, maybe Han wiped out their whole order, but there's no way he's come out of it unscathed. But he bolts forward like a madman, grabs the guy by the throat, only to have his grip blocked somehow. Han chuckles, impressed, and wonders if this idiot's got some decent weapon on him. The commander thinks he's running on fumes, but he just shrugs like a bored kid and caves his head in with one punch. The system pops up saying he just killed the Viscount of Bavaria. Han hums, thinking this heaven-shattering ghost art is cracked. Even after moving around like crazy, it feels like he barely spent any energy. With all the soldiers dealt with, he figures it's about time he hears what his reward is. He yanks out the second elder and tells him to continue talking. Just as he's about to chill, a voice from behind starts praising his strength. Instantly annoyed, Han wonders who the hell's bothering him now. He barks at the mystery guy to show himself, and a robed man steps out. He asks who he is and if he came here to kill him too. Must be another bounty hunter, he guesses. But the robed man says nah, he's something similar but not a hunter. He's just here to kill him and turn him into his slave. The robed bastard then pulls out Rufendal like a puppet, showing him off as his slave now. Han instantly recognizes the asshole who killed him. He stares, not even registering the criminal's face, while Professor Dali lets out an irritated sigh. He admits Han's screwed this time. The robed man nods along, saying yeah, he's definitely going to end up his slave. He's grinning like a creep, rambling about how lucky he is to get such quality corpses for free, promising to treasure him once he's under his control. Then he casts a rise, and the entire squad he slaughtered just seconds ago jolts back to life. The Viscount and his dead soldiers get back on their feet as he figures out this robed clown must be a necromancer. The undead troops glare at him with intent to kill. He notes that this guy must have a hidden class because unlike typical undead, these ones are resurrected with their egos and memories intact. Weirdly, he can't even read their stats properly using heaven shards or ghost shards. Hell, they might even be stronger than before. The Viscount starts calling the robed man his master, now tied to him through some soul contract, vowing to sacrifice everything for him. He figures this necromancer's skill must be some busted shit. The Viscount turns to him, dead set on finishing him off this time, convinced he's got zero chance now. But before the undead can even touch him, they all freeze up. Han raises a brow, wondering what's up with them, while the system explains that because he's literally the absolute evil, he has insane authority over black magic entities. His heaven-shattering ghost art's power is resisting the necromancer's control. The robed man starts sweating bullets, clueless as to why his slaves aren't responding. He keeps yelling orders, but it's useless. Han ends up hijacking control over the undead, with the combined effect of his absolute evil title and heaven-shattering ghost art's energy. Even he's thrown off by this, realizing they're going to follow whatever he says now. Feeling annoyed, he just tells them all to die again. Rufendal clocks that he's about to kill him a second time, while the necromancer screams at him to stop listening to Han. He smirks, thinking Rufendal's definitely undead now. Grinning wickedly, he confirms Rufendal's under his command too, so he orders him to start doing jumping jacks. Rufendal tries to resist, but a crackling purple lightning bolt slams into him, forcing him to jump around like an absolute idiot. The necromancer stands there panicking about what to do next. Han turns his focus on him and asks how old he is. The idiot blurts out that he's 19 before trying to backtrack. He sighs, telling him his undeads are worthless. So what's he planning to do now? For context, he adds he doesn't kill anyone who doesn't try to kill him first. The necromancer immediately starts begging to leave. Since he's feeling merciful, he waves him off and the dumbass scurries away. Han then turns his attention back to the criminal. Rufendal immediately starts buttering things up, brushing it off as just a joke. Switching tactics fast, he starts calling him his senior and swears he'll be a loyal little mutt if he just tells him what to do. Han reminds him straight up that if he ever stabs him in the back, he's dying on the spot. Rufendal nods along, fully aware. That smug grin creeps across his face. Looks like he doesn't need to buy himself a pet anymore. Meanwhile, back in the real world, a player logs out of Olympus and steps out, still shaken, muttering about how terrifying that guy was. She's just glad she didn't end up dead. She just can't wrap her head around how someone could outdo her necromancy like that. Maybe he's the one her master used to talk about. Her master once warned her to remember that someday, the only true king of this world would appear. When that happened, she needed to serve him so he could crush every obstacle and take the entire continent under his rule. She wonders if he is that king fated to dominate the world. She glances at her phone, sees the time, and curses under her breath about being late before rushing off. Back inside the game, the second elder appears and mentions there are still 2 things he hasn't told him yet, so he's going to continue. Han is honestly impressed by the dude's persistence, so he tells him to hurry it up and finish before someone barges in again. The second elder starts explaining about the murder veil. Right now there are 2 S-class assassins under murder veil capable of taking out top-tier Imperial officials, 20 assassins ranked A-class, 100 B-class killers, and way too many C-classes to even bother counting. At this moment, countless people are applying to join Murder Veil while others keep dropping dead in the process. Plus, according to some reports, Murder Veil has aristocratic ties spread across the continent. Over the last 30 years of business, they've piled up 2 billion gold as operating funds, plus an extra 4 billion gold in personal funds belonging to him, making it a total of 6 billion gold. All of it now belongs to him. That quest to get the second elder's approval is cleared, and he pockets the extra 6 billion gold reward. He feels satisfied, but also like his brain's lagging out from trying to process it. It shows on his face, but he quickly regains his composure so the elder doesn't catch on. He nods and tells the elder he respects his loyalty. That's why he wants him to keep 2 billion gold to keep Murder Veil running smoothly. As for the leftover 4 billion, he says it'll go towards both Murder Veil operations and the Sky Devil group. Hearing this makes tears well up in Yorhan's eyes, and he pledges to follow him wherever he goes. Han starts celebrating in his head, realizing his bullshit sweet talk actually worked out perfectly. With Murder Veil under his thumb, quests and his future are locked down tight. Yorhan then brings up one last thing. It's about the third leader, Lexer. Apparently this elder is seriously dangerous. He says unlike him, Lexer won't waste time giving him a heads up before striking. Lexer's attacks will be aimed straight for the kill. Han figures Lexer's probably an assassin too. The second elder confirms it and explains Lexer is the head of the Black Floral group. He freezes for a second at that reveal. He tells Yorhan to hold up for a moment. He checks his system notifications and sees 2 constellations have already been decided. But honestly, he couldn't care less about who they are. If they want to come at him, they're more than welcome. After all, his sister is the 7th constellation, and Murder Veil is already in his pocket. Suddenly, he gets a flurry of messages from his sister, making him wonder what's up with her. He figures she must be back home already, but something feels off. Maybe she found out about the 1st and 2nd constellations. Seiya quickly clarifies it's not about that. This is something way more important. She just ran into a close friend of hers. When the girl finally arrived, Seiya greeted her happily. Her friend, Sisong, smiled back and asked if she'd been waiting long. As Sisong tries to have a calm chat with Seiya, some random dude sneaks up behind her and asks for her number, but she turns him down politely. She always finds it creepy how guys claim she's their type even when she's never seen them before. She can't help thinking they're only after her looks, and honestly, that disgusts her. Sia, on the other hand, doesn't think it's weird that someone fell head over heels at first glance. In her eyes, Sisong is just still wary of men. Sisong flushes a bit, mumbling that she's definitely not scared. She remembers how everyone at the Academy Wars used to call her Ice Princess, but she understands why Sisong acts this way. She wonders what Sisong has been up to lately. Sisong tells her it's top secret, just between them. She spills everything, and by the end of it, she's beaming, feeling like she really made the right call. She feels grateful her friend listens without interrupting. They say their goodbyes, and Seiya tells her to text when she gets home. Later, Seiya remembers making sure Sisong promised not to breathe a word of this to anyone else. Her mind starts racing with panic about what to do now. She figures the first person she needs to tell is her brother. Back home, Han wonders what exactly his sister was dying to tell him. He recalls how she went to the nearest capsule cafe and whispered to him there, but since people could overhear, she bolted back home to talk in private. He hands her a glass of water as she complains about being completely wiped out. She begins explaining that nobody else knows this yet, and honestly, she never thought she'd get this kind of intel from her friend. She keeps it short. Everyone believes the absolute evil is destined to battle the constellations alone, but apparently there's a pure class meant to serve him. Turns out her longtime friend just received a quest to become his servant. She's known as the Absolute Necromancer. When she finishes, Han realizes how critical this info is, but he worries it's dangerous for Sisong to spill such secrets. He wonders if it's even safe for him to hear it. His sister explains that Sisong shared it because she's basically her soulmate. She thinks he deserves to know, considering he's the freaking absolute evil himself. Han freezes up, nervous and embarrassed, wondering what the hell she's on about. She already knows he's the absolute evil, but she was waiting for him to admit it on his own. To her, it was obvious. He disappeared for 20 years to train in some bizarre place, and everywhere he shows up, black monsters pop out of nowhere. He's insanely strong for his level, plus he's maxed out on chaotic alignment. When the system announced the absolute evil was born, his stats skyrocketed. And on top of that, she became the 7th constellation while trying to smack him. She thinks it'd be downright idiotic if he wasn't the absolute evil. She gets where he's coming from, but part of her still feels a little hurt. Han knows he's in no place to argue. He puts on a stupid little act, admitting she really did figure him out. He expected her to catch on eventually, but she thinks he looks like an absolute idiot right now, acting all clueless. She assures him she hasn't told her friend about him being the absolute evil, nor did she reveal she's a constellation. It's late to say this, but she reminds Han that if their identities get exposed, it's game over for both of them. Han tells her she's right, while Seiya thinks she should meet Si-song properly one day and come clean. Han has picked up something valuable from this. He doesn't actually have to face the constellations by himself. Now he just wonders how to put that to use. The next day, up in Lepnia Mountain, Han remembers his sister mentioning her friend is only 19 and already dabbling in necromancy. The girl ditched the academy and sits at level 14. She even gave him a mask to hide his face since he's on the run from both the Empire and the Union. He knows he has to keep his guard up so nothing leaks out. He thinks about this 19-year-old necromancer. Could she be the same one he ran into before? Rufendal is level 50, so someone at 14 couldn't possibly control him. Maybe it's a hidden class, but still, that seems impossible. Han meets up with his sister and her friend deep in the jungle. Si-song looks straight at Han, and he's caught off guard too. Both realize instantly they've met before. Si-song stands there stunned. She blurts out "Big Bro," and his eyes well up with tears. He tells her she shouldn't call her savior Big Bro, but whatever. Si-song goes red when Han points out she's a girl, even though last time they spoke, she sounded completely different. She gets flustered, explaining she only talked like that because she thought necromancers had to act tough, but now she just feels awkward. Meanwhile, Seiya is shocked Han already knew her. He shrugs, saying their paths just crossed by chance. Si-song thinks this is unreal, maybe it's fate. Seiya told her Han is deeply connected to the absolute evil, and Si-song starts to wonder if he is the absolute evil himself. She asks her friend Seiya how she knows Han. Han introduces himself bluntly as the absolute evil, and Seiya reveals to Si-song that she's his sister and also the 7th constellation. All of this hits Si-song like a freight train. She stands frozen for a moment before screaming like an idiot, demanding to know why Seiya hid this from her. She can't wrap her head around why Seiya is telling her all this now. Seiya apologizes, thinking her brother deserved his privacy before she told anyone. She's only revealing it now because she trusts Si-song. Si-song suddenly realizes Han is her best friend's older brother. She gets all jittery, wishing she'd dressed better today. Seiya rolls her eyes, annoyed her friend is stressing over something so dumb. Si-song bursts into tears like a little kid, promising Han she's not usually this pathetic. Han decides to just take her word for it, remembering his sister said Si-song is gorgeous, but to him, she's still just a kid. Han cuts to the chase, saying none of that matters right now. He reminds her she said she got a quest to serve the absolute evil. Si-song nods and hands him a scroll, explaining it's something her master left for her. He takes a look at it, seeing it's some kind of map. Suddenly, something on it catches his eye, and his expression changes in surprise. While Han was drowning in that brutal training, his old man suddenly told him to come here. He had still been neck-deep in his insane drills back then, but apparently the geezer had something crucial to share. Now he stares at the map in his hands, mind racing. Everything from the details on this paper to the spot it marks matches what his master gave him. Just glancing at it, he knows it's tied to the absolute evil, and it screams quest material for the heaven-shattering ghost art. But what really seals the deal is the emblem sketched in the corner. There's no doubt about it, this is the heaven-shattering ghost art symbol. They call it Black Flame. His master once told him this mark defines who he is from now on, that it's his entire identity. He knows damn well there's zero chance it's here by accident. He figures, yeah, there have to be other players out there who landed SSS-class quests tied to the absolute evil too. Makes sense. No way he's taking on Constellations solo. Besides, anyone serving absolute evil has no shot when facing it directly. While he silently pieces everything together, plotting in his head, Si-song pipes up asking what he's thinking about. He hands the map back to her with a shrug, saying it all makes sense now. Looks like he really turned into the absolute evil, but for the moment, they better get going. She asks where they're off to next. He mentions he heard from Seiya that Si-song's still stuck at level 14, so first things first, they need to grind her up a few levels. A handful of days slide by. Seiya fries a monster with her lightning bolt, obliterating a giant black bear while Si-song watches with sparkly eyes thinking her friend is badass. Behind them, Rufendal dings up a level and wonders when the hell was the last time he even leveled up. Han notices him loafing around and wonders what he's doing. He snaps back to reality, bows his head and scrambles to pick up loot like a loyal mutt. He gathers up the bluestones and hands them to Han, staring at him like he's witnessing a god. He decides to give the guy a break, while Rufendal silently curses how low he's sunk, reduced to a pathetic fetch quest puppy. But even he can't deny it. Han's powers are absurd. Healing, buffing, boosting levels, guaranteed loot drops. The works. And now Rufendal feels disgustingly content with this worthless life, quickly scolding himself because damn it, this is humiliating. Meanwhile, Han asks Si-song what level she's at now. She replies she hit level 19, so they keep hunting. He looks at her and muses that she's an absolute necromancer with a hidden class directly supporting the absolute evil. Seiya asks Si-song if she's been hunting alone. She blushes, admitting yeah, she has, since she sucks at controlling her skills. He watches her fumble around and thinks she acts all clumsy, claiming she's bad at combat, but he knows it's just her hiding her monstrous potential. She summons a crowd of skeletons while he notes that her undead are leagues stronger than the typical trash necromancers bring out. She finds them adorable, and he guesses necromancers must think they're undead or cute or something, which is honestly creepy to him. Most importantly, he sees that the sheer number of minions she can summon and her magic output are on a whole different level compared to standard necromancers. It's not even close. Right now, he's stuck in a situation where he has to be cautious around the Empire. The Elders might be pinned down for the moment, but that doesn't mean he can't rope in a few players if push comes to shove. She commands her skeleton squad to chase down a black bear. They tear it apart with merciless efficiency. Seesong is shaping up to be his strongest piece on the board for the time being. While Seesong and Sia cheer over the skeleton's victory, he notes that Seesong's current quest lines up with his. Both are exploring the same ruins. He remembers the quest came straight from his Hellspawn master. So, yeah, difficulty's definitely going to be nightmare tier. Thinking about his master sends shivers crawling down his back. God knows what disasters could happen if he tried to tackle this quest alone. All things considered, it's a relief she agreed to team up. For once, his real-life luck isn't completely trash. Out of nowhere, she sneaks up and hugs him like an absolute idiot, shouting that she finally leveled up. She's reached level 20. Rufendal bursts out laughing, saying Han probably thought a monster was ambushing him. He's a bit stunned. It's his first time seeing her act like this. She tells him her level shot up in no time thanks to him, and she seriously can't thank him enough. He's happy for her but tells her to back off. If he'd reflexively swung at her, she'd be pasted on the ground. He turns to Rufendal and calls him his pet, asking what he's slacking off for now. Rufendal flinches and rushes off to scavenge the dropped loot. He says Seesong hit level 20, so it's time to move on with their quest. Their next stop is the Cargonis Mountains in Lunia. He tells both his sister and Seesong that since no one's tracking them right now, they should wear the Imperial wraps. He wants them to go ahead and gather any intel they can. As for him and Rufendal, since they're both max chaotic, they'll come later using a wrap controlled by the Alliance. They nod and take off while Rufendal wonders aloud if the two will be alright given they're max chaotic. He says of course they won't, but what choice do they have? They need to move too. Even though airships and blimps cost less, they're way too slow, and God knows what bullshit could pop up en route, so even if it burns their wallet, wraps are the safest bet for him. Alliance-managed wraps are relatively cheap, but since there aren't many, his usage opportunities are limited. Once someone hits max chaotic, most wrap portals lock them out. Almost all wrap portals are under Alliance authority, and the Great Alliance loves monopolizing that control, where an Alliance girl turns to her captain and says he needs to come take a look. The captain asks what's up. She tells him 2 max chaotics just arrived. The captain stands, tells her to get back inside, and smirks, thinking some big shots just stepped in. He's the Great Alliance wrap portal manager, Captain Ibe. Rufendal silently prays this goes smoothly, while Han figures since PvP's banned in this area, they're safe for now. The captain struts over, saying this portal leads straight to Cargonis Mountains in Lunia, so he hopes they brought fat stacks of cash. Then he notices they're both max chaotic and raises a brow. Looking closer, he realizes the blue-haired guy is Rufendal himself. He figures Rufendal brought along his errand boy. Rufendal immediately slips into his dumb act like Han told him to and plays it up, saying he dragged him along to gather loot for him. This was all part of his orders before they even left, so Rufendal's just following the script, acting like the senior here. The captain chuckles, thinking Rufendal should have at least brought someone halfway competent. As far as he can tell, Han's just some clueless newbie. Rufendal's eyes twitch as he snaps back that whether his pet is a noob or trash tier has nothing to do with the captain. The captain shrugs, reminding them the normal citizen fare doesn't apply to max chaotics. It's 13 million gold each. Rufendal reels at the number, calling it bullshit highway robbery. The captain smirks and tells them to leave if they're too broke. They can always use the cheap Imperial portal. Oh wait, max chaotics like them are banned from that one. He wonders what they'll do now. Rufendal clenches his teeth in frustration while the captain is confident Rufendal's trapped. Rufendal hisses, asking if that's seriously all the captain has to say while charging them 30 million won like it's bus fare. The captain eyes Han, thinking maybe he could jack up the price even more seeing how desperate they are. Rufendal keeps bickering while Han suddenly gets a whisper message. He notices it's coming from the captain himself, who switched to private chat mode. The captain figures Han must be sick of living like a lonely pet. He doesn't care how Han ended up like this, but he's ready to help if Han does exactly what he says. His lips curl into a smile. This is exactly what he wanted. Inside, he cackles like a villain, thinking this clueless idiot fell for his trap instantly. Outwardly, he puts on a pitiful crybaby act, saying he'll do whatever it takes to escape this pathetic pet life. Seesong and Seiya finally arrive at the Cargonis Mountains. She thinks to herself that these raps sure as hell don't waste time. Seiya agrees with a bright grin. Seesong starts worrying about Han again, wondering if he's gonna be alright. She knows private rap runners love draining max chaotics dry, and she's heard enough stories about them stabbing their own clients in the back. But Seo waves it off, saying he's the type to snap the wrist of anyone dumb enough to betray him. Sesong admits that sounds about right. She wonders if it's okay to keep calling him old man, while she starts tearing up, mumbling that no matter how she looks at the map, she can't figure out which way to go. Seo just chuckles and tells her it's fine because she already knows the route. Elsewhere, Han is thinking about Ibe. He guesses he's around level 40 or so, which is way too pathetic for a team captain. For a big shot alliance like Ellen, the only reason he's holding down a cushy captain spot in portal management is because his aunt sits on Ellen's board of directors. Life's been a never-ending win streak for him. Ever since joining Ellen, he's never actually had to prove his worth. Good positions landed in his lap, promotions rolled in easy. Being born rich with connections, he thinks it's all his own damn skill. Han thinks this clueless bastard is hopelessly naive. He sees how the captain's swallowing everything he's saying, so he decides to play along, guessing the guy's probably picturing him as some clueless idiot with zero clue about his future. Han snorts internally, thinking he's so damn transparent it's laughable. Han lets a smirk slip and leans toward Rufendal, whispering that Captain Dumbass is already sliding him an offer to stab them in the back. Rufendal looks shocked, but he says he's just playing dumb for now. They'll talk once they're on the raft, so Rufendal needs to act normal. Rufendal asks him to cough up 6 million gold, and he agrees. Rufendal pretends to snap at him for taking so long, even though inside he's shaking in his boots. Thanks to their little performance, they manage to take the rap and reach the northern Cargonis Mountains. Once they're out of the safe zone, Han notices the captain tailing them with his crew. The captain barks at him to start beating on Rufendal, while Han whispers to Rufendal to brace himself. He activates his skin, hoping Rufendal fakes being shocked and pissed, while Rufendal silently prays this really does 0 damage. Han slams his fist into him, but his skill cancels out all the damage. Rufendal's screaming internally but puts on a furious act, throwing a punch back at him. Han pretends he's had it up to here with being some pet, and the two of them start going at each other. As they're scrapping, the captain orders his men to cast Dispel Magic so Rufendal can't blink or vanish. The henchmen cast it and then dive in, laying into him. Han watches from the side, finding it hilarious that 5 dudes are ganging up on him like this. The captain slips behind Han, thinking that since he already handed Rufendal 6 million gold earlier, he's probably just acting as a storage box, which works perfectly. The captain wants his items. He whips out his sword and charges straight at Rufendal, convinced that Max Chaotic Bastard will drop loot. He hopes Han doesn't just keel over from a single hit after he finishes slicing Boyle with his blade, but Han turns around with a grin and decks him with a punch. The captain's eyes widen in shock. He narrowly dodges by jumping back just in time. Stunned, he thinks this is insane. How the hell does Han's punch pack that much force? Maybe he's actually a fighter. But then he notices Han's stamina isn't draining like a fighter's would, and there aren't any debuff notifications either. He figures maybe Han's just dumped all his points into agility instead of attack. That's the only thing that makes sense. Meanwhile, Han checks his settings and realizes he didn't even mean to hold back all his damage. It just happened. eBay keeps spewing insults, calling him a worm, but Han looks at him calmly, asking what the hell he's even yapping about since eBay attacked first. While that's happening, Rufendal wipes out everyone else and casually chucks one of the players straight at the captain, leaving him completely dumbfounded. This time, his brain short-circuits. He starts thinking maybe his intel was trash because even Rufendal's strength is off the charts. His henchmen start screaming that they've been duped and need to retreat immediately, but Rufendal, grinning like a demon, finishes them off with brutal hits. He still can't wrap his head around how he mowed down everyone so effortlessly. Honestly, he's convinced it's all thanks to Han's insane buffs. And right then, he feels so damn grateful he thinks he could spend the rest of his life scrubbing Han's feet without complaint. He notices Han is still busy messing with the captain. For a second, Rufendal wonders why he's keeping eBay alive. Han just shrugs and says if he kills eBay, there won't be any loot drop since his luck stat is sitting at a depressing -99. Meanwhile, Ibe's brain is spiraling, trying to figure out what these two are plotting. Rufendal steps forward, flashing a murderous glare to shut him up and put him back in his place. Han tells him to squeeze the bastard for every last coin while he keeps watch. Rufendal obeys without blinking, leaning in to ask Ibe if his life is really worth just 6 million. Deep down, he thinks this is his golden chance to prove himself to Han. Ibe's voice cracks as tears streak down his face. He begs, offering 7 million, then desperately keeps raising the amount until he's screaming out 100 million gold. Han remains unmoved. He nudges Rufendal to push for at least 130. Wanting Han to see him as reliable, Rufendal unleashes a menacing aura, reminding Ibe that slapping a price tag on betrayal isn't cheap. Considering the mental trauma they just went through, he demands 130 million, calling it fair compensation. Ibe is trembling so badly he immediately agrees to cough up the 130 million if they just move to the safe zone first. Rufendal scoffs at that, saying it's obvious Ibe still doesn't get how deep in shit he really is. That single line shatters his last hope. He quickly pays up and tries to bolt. Han lifts his head, watching the pathetic escape attempt. The captain is thinking about how he'll pay them back for this humiliation once he gets out alive, but Han knows exactly what kind of roach he's dealing with. In his eyes, it's only right they deliver proper punishment. Han decides they're ending him here, and Rufendal lunges like an unhinged maniac, yelling that he'll be the apostle of justice today. As the captain begs to be spared, Rufendal hopes he can at least survive the first punch to make it interesting, but deep down he likes Han exactly as he is. In the end, he crushes the captain with a single hit, feeling a bit let down it was over so quickly. While Ibe sobs over his scattered belongings, Rufendal feels blessed and starts scooping up everything in sight. The captain even tries to buy back a specific item for 1 billion gold, but he couldn't care less. He notices it's oddly heavy and hears the captain's desperate offer, but he ignores it without missing a beat, leaving him in stunned silence. Ibe demands to know if he even understands what he's holding, but Rufendal doesn't give a shit. All that matters is handing over everything to the master he idolizes. Rufendal drops the haul in front of Han and mentions that the captain offered a whole billion just to get one item back. Han casually checks through the loot, and the moment his eyes land on that item, his mind nearly short-circuits in disbelief. Han and Rufendal both lean in to check out the pouch they've just scored. Rufendal's face scrunches up, like he isn't even sure what the hell they're looking at. Han, meanwhile, can't shake the weird vibe. This is something from round 2, something people are apparently willing to drop obscene amounts of gold on, yet it feels underwhelming. He pops the pouch open. The system flashes its contents: 1 steel gauntlet, a taming ring, and a fat pile of 500 million gold. Even stacked together, it doesn't scream, worth 1 billion. Han's mind flickers to the idea of smuggled or hidden items, but after a quick second, he decides it isn't worth stressing over. Whatever. Han turns to Rufendal, casually tossing out an offer: 3 million gold if Rufendal signs on as his pet. Rufendal looks like he's just been handed divine salvation and swears undying loyalty in the most dramatic fashion possible. Grinning, he says he'll hang out in Runia, grind some levels. Everything here is his now. Up on Mount Rania, Sia spots someone heading their way, her brother. Han gives a nod. Everyone has made it in one piece. Sisong points out that Sia has led the group flawlessly. When Han asks if they found anything odd, Sisong says the local NPCs are buzzing about a rumor. A beast of insane power shows up in the area now and then. One famous NPC hunter has already been taken out, and an entire level 50 party has been wiped during the quest tied to it. Han frowns. Nothing like that has popped up on Olympus Mania or any of the forums. Sisong glances at him, half hopeful, and asks if he can take it down. 3 days later, Han, Seiya, and Sisong hit Karganis Mountain and run smack into a brutal wild monster. Sisong flexes her undead powers mid-fight and levels up to 23. Seiya, now at 33, looks over at her brother and admits the buffs are straight up insane. She also points out why most people avoid this mountain. It's a nightmare to survive. Han agrees, saying he hasn't expected this level of difficulty, and gives both of them props for holding their ground. As Sisong starts raising the monster's corpse into one of her undead, Han shoots her a wary look, asking if all this constant summoning will drain her mana dry. She brushes it off, saying her mana reserves are solid, and reveals a small army of undead at her command. The more she has, the stronger they get. Han scans the horde, easily over 200, and mutters that she's damn impressive. Sisong suddenly announces they've arrived. A massive cliff towers in front of them, blocking any path forward. Han squints at her and asks if she even knows how to read a map. Sisong, completely unfazed, says they're exactly where they need to be. Seiya asks if climbing that beast of a cliff is really necessary. Han suggests flight magic, but Seiya reminds him that all flight spells are locked here. While the three of them stare upward, Sisong points to something at the top. At first, Han sees nothing. Then, after another glance, he catches sight of a giant eagle, Karya, the apex predator of Karganis Mountain. The bird has gotten stronger and smarter from eating shiny monster stones. At some point, Karya has realized humans also carry shiny stuff and becomes obsessed with snagging it. Han tells the others to hang back. Karya lets out a cry that, bizarrely, sounds like a chicken's squawk. It makes Han think of an item he's picked up recently. Just as he reaches for it, Karya dives and snatches him off the ground. Seiya and Sisong both yell his name, panicked. Dangling in the bird's claws, Han catches the smug, almost mocking look in Karya's eyes. It pisses him off. He isn't about to let some bird clown him like this. He activates his heavy-hitting fist skill. The system chimes 50% damage to the eagle. Karya drops him, but Han grips onto its claw and refuses to let go. The bird screeches in pain. Standing on Karya's back, Han declares that he'll spare the creature, but only if it agrees to be his pet. Then, he swings with the steel gauntlet, the one that doubles pain every strike, and lands a brutal punch. The system reports 80% damage this time. From below, the others watch the fight unfold. The system suddenly highlights an option. Han can use the Ring of the Tamer. He slips it on. The ring's one-time taming ability kicks in, reserved for public tamers. The system flags Han's high intelligence as a bonus to the attempt, Karya is partially subdued. Now he just needs to give it a name to lock the bond. While scrolling through his pet inventory, Han casually remarks that taming isn't that complicated. Seiya raises a brow and asks if he actually has taming skills. Han shakes his head. Just the gear he's picked up recently. Sisong smirks, teasing that relying on items isn't real taming anyway. The system then spits out Karya's stats. S-class pet. It feeds on monster stones and gold, which basically makes it a walking money pit. Han pauses, debating the cost. S-class Beastmaster fusions are stupidly valuable, though. He pulls out a pouch of gold, and Karya's eyes light up like a greedy dragon. Han realizes the bird isn't just smart, it has been faking ignorance this whole time. He tells it that every shiny thing in the world will be his, if it listens. The system confirms taming is complete. Han grins and names the bird Keikoko. Sisong looks impressed. Xia, less so, questions why taming monsters this way even matters. Suddenly they're all airborne on Keiko's back. Seiya and Sisong are wide-eyed at the speed and the view from above. Han checks the map and says they should have reached the entrance by now. Seiya guesses that maybe something will trigger if they hit the cliff head-on. Han admits he has zero mining skills, and flight is blocked in certain areas. Sisong adds that other teams have tried hitting the cliff base, only to get the not qualified message. Han tells everyone to hang tight. Then he urges Keiko to fly straight at the cliff. His plan? Jump from the bird's head onto the rock. As soon as he lands, he presses his fist to the cliff's surface. The system flares to life, detecting energy from his heaven-shattering ghost art. A new message appears. Gate to the Cliff of Time cannot be opened yet. Requirement: sacrifice 200 Carganus mountain monsters within 5 minutes. Our hero stands on the cliff's edge, his mind spinning as the weight of the situation hits him. If he can't offer up 200 monsters in the next 5 minutes, the cliff itself will cave in. Buried beneath, fragile and unseen, lies a glass prison holding back the absolute evil, the absolute necromancer. His gaze flicks to Sisong, then sweeps over the sprawling horde of undead gathered below. He asks her if the undead count is somewhere near 200. Sisong shakes her head and answers flatly, 286 exactly. He says it doesn't matter, 200 or 286, the sacrifice is going to happen regardless. But Sisong cuts him off with a sharp refusal. Those undead, she says, are her children. He stares at her, unflinching, and asks how she can even think of them that way. Can she actually talk to the dead? Her voice softens as she replies that they don't want to be thrown away like this. That hesitation, so unlike her, makes him pause. She isn't the type to break down or get sentimental, yet something in her tone cracks. His mind flashes back to her master's words, that she and he are already walking the same road. He reminds Sisong of that truth, telling her she is destined to command countless others while answering to no one but herself. This moment, he says, is just the start. If they hesitate now, everything they've built will crumble. Sisong says she understands, but the thought of sacrificing the undead with her own hands feels unbearable. Even with all her power, catching another 200 monsters right now isn't an option. Something inside her resists the idea, a gut-deep rejection she can't explain. Seiya's voice breaks through the tension, calling out to her brother. Han starts to wonder if Sisong's class has warped her connection to the undead, maybe made her feel too much. She isn't usually this soft, but maybe something deeper is happening. Seiya presses the point. There is no other way. Han turns to Sisong and tells her it is time to choose. Either she will make the offering and keep walking his path, or she will step away and follow her own. Sisong stands there for a long moment before finally nodding. She says she will stay with him. She gives her name, Marianne, the absolute necromancer, and begins chanting. The sacrifice starts, and 200 of her undead vanish into the offering. Sisong stands atop Coco's massive, still body, her arms trembling as the ritual drags on. The air around her warps with foul, rotting mana, heavy enough to choke on. One by one, the undead she has raised disintegrate into black dust at her feet. Each one is a piece of her being torn away. The system's stats pop up, 200 undead, the median count for a sacrifice. But Sisong's numbers are way beyond that. Han, standing a few paces off, can feel the crushing strain on her. He mutters something about whether this is a side effect of her class and, without thinking twice, casts a low-level heal on her. If he doesn't, she might collapse under the drain. Sisong shakes her head and pushes forward, whispering that she has to endure it. She feels the shift inside just before her knees buckle under her. She doesn't pass out, but her body staggers, caught between the strength she has gained and the pieces she has lost. Han and Seiya bolt toward her, panic etched on their faces. Neither has a clue what to do. The last 20 years, their training, the Sky Devil fight, the bitter losses and silent wins, it all feels like it has led here. Olympus has always been one giant setup. Sisong has never even dreamed of running away. Han's thoughts spin. Olympus might be a game, but he is confident he can clear a challenge like this. Still, he has no idea what will come after. He turns to Seiya, asking if she is in as his helper. Seiya nods, saying she has stuck with him this far, logging every detail, and she is all in. Han then checks with Sisong. She agrees as well. Finally, he looks to Coco, who grunts a yes. Han hands Coco a small object, telling him to eat it. Its value alone is worth 8 million gold. Coco's eyes gleam as he swallows it greedily. Then the system chimes again. Han is officially recognized as worthy to enter the inheritance of Kelt. A trial gate linked to the inheritance has been prepared, and the system asks if he wants to step in. Han weighs the unknowns, curious about what lies ahead, and agrees. The system confirms his choice, announcing that Kelt's arrangement has been locked in. Far from the chaos of the cliff, in a quiet rap office, a man barks into his phone, talking fast, trying to smooth things over, but the voice on the other end isn't having it. They warn him not to get greedy again. If he pulls another stunt like this, they won't be able to bail him out. Byung-eun, the rap management lead, is standing by, arms crossed, making sure he swears this will never happen again. He ends the call, slumps back in his chair, and mutters that he has been royally screwed. Leaning back, he picks apart the situation. He thinks about Lupendal and that sickly-looking kid tagging along with the target. There is no way he could have guessed that kid has the Ramtadian. Now, though, things look less like a disaster and more like an opportunity. Whoever screws with him has messed with the wrong guy. The quest he has put out is already live, and over 700 people have jumped on it. His phone rings again. Byung-eun frowns. Another call already? He picks it up and asks what is going on. On the other end, someone mentions they have spotted the Ramtadian request on the board. Byung-eun confirms that is his doing. The caller then casually drops a bomb. They have just become the first constellation. The management leader freezes, asking if they are serious. The caller confirms, saying they have lucked into it, and they are ready to help Byung-eun get his revenge. The moment the system alert chimes, Han finds himself yanked into a landscape that seems alive, constantly shifting. It doesn't take him long to notice. The team has been scattered. A flicker of worry hits him, but he shoves it aside as a monstrous three-legged crow plummets from above, its aura thick and suffocating. Han doesn't hesitate. One strike, and the thing crumples like wet paper. The system pops up instantly. Hunt complete, 90,000 gold secured, and his experience bar slams to the limit. Han stays rooted in place, unsettled. That crow is way too easy. The sensation drags him back to a brutal memory, training with his old master in Reina. Back then, every swing of the sword feels like it might be his last. He can still hear that voice, cutting through his pain, pushing him to survive, to rise, to rule. Looking back now, it is obvious. Those lessons aren't about survival. They are about shaping him into something far worse, the perfect embodiment of absolute evil. Another system ping breaks his thoughts. No step-up points required for this zone. The path forward just gets a whole lot smoother. His level climbs to 50. Somewhere else, Seiya is tearing through enemies like she was born for it. Lightning crackles across the battlefield, every strike shredding another wave of monsters. Notifications roll in, bats hunted, kills confirmed. Mid-fight, her magic twists and evolves into a nastier, more refined version of itself. On another front, within the depths of Kelt, armored knights emerge. Seesong's magic shifts, darker and more ruthless, cutting them down with cold precision. The system confirms her kills. Then, like some eerie ripple, death itself bends toward her. Black energy surges beneath her feet, dragging the fallen back into motion. Skeletal warriors in battered armor claw their way up, chanting in sync as they kneel, swearing loyalty to her under the name Marian Lim. A second later, they transform, no longer simple undead, but dead knights. Sesong blinks at the weight of the name. It has an old-world power to it that she hasn't expected. Elsewhere, Coco is busy reducing massive venomous earthworms to nothing but pulp. Amid the carnage, he finds a strange blue stone. Without overthinking, he devours it. The system responds, confirming that his personal arrangement sequence has been completed. The field of battle shifts again. In a blink, everyone is pulled back together. Han scans the group. Nobody looks worse for wear. Both Seiya and Seesong share the same news. Big level jumps, and Han figures his stats have spiked too. The ground quivers. A deep rumble rolls through the earth as the system proclaims, Celt's main gate is now open. Han warns the group to stay sharp. But before they can even plan, a voice breaks through. A voice he knows. A shimmering projection appears, shaped like his dead master. Even as a hologram, the presence feels real, heavy. The figure praises Han's growth, tying every ounce of his current power back to those hellish years of training. It even credits him for fueling the Sky Devil's army, hinting that Han's path might end with him conquering an entire continent. The system chimes again, updating the Absolute Evil Man quest. Things click in Han's head, his ominous title, the SSS grade quest, the cruel lessons his master drilled into him. It is all one grand setup, all leading to the Empire's destruction and a future ruled under the Sky Devil's shadow. The hologram's last words are cryptic, something about a pure soul who, once recognizing Han, will grant him command over death itself. Han barely has time to process it before the projection shatters and vanishes. Another system message drops. Kelt's legacy has been cleared. The Absolute Necromancer's presence has sealed the final requirement. With the ordeal over, Seesong lets out a casual remark about how short the trial feels. Han agrees. Seiya, on the other hand, is grinning. Pleased they've worked together to get Si-song to a place she could have never reached solo. Han doesn't say much, but he knows the truth. If he goes in alone, he'd still be stuck. The rewards phase rolls in. The system dishes out 2 step-up points, 20 extra stat points, and a single redstone. Han eyes the redstone, knowing its price on the open market is insane. With that kind of payout, money problems aren't even a thing anymore. Sia gets one too. Her excitement is instant and loud. Han keeps his thoughts to himself. She can have it. Si-song checks the item, confirms it is legit, then shares her own loot, a step-up point and a killer skill called Unlimited Mana. It slashes the cost of undead summoning in half, and with upgrades, 0 cost. No cap. Sia congratulates her, throwing out the idea of celebrating with food. Han, though, can't shake the implications. Si-song with an army of undead that cost her nothing to maintain? That is terrifying. While they are talking, Bok Bok suddenly starts glowing. The system announces it, his grade has jumped. Evolution complete. His new title, Korea. His level rockets to 73 with a class jump from grade 5 to 55. Han just stares for a second, half surprised, half impressed. That must be his cut for helping clear the gate. Han shifts focus back to himself, pulling up his own stats. Only one thing can be changed: destruction. He pours into it. The system roars back. Destruction has reached its true form, activating a dual destruction effect. The potential hits him like a gut punch. This is huge. Not far away, another story is unfolding. A group of bounty hunters is tracking their trail. They search every inch, but past a certain point, the trail just ends. The cliff edge offers nothing. No footprints. No hint of movement. Kang Museok, Crimson of Gladiator, steps forward and takes charge. He is sure they are close. Before they can push on, the cliff face explodes outward. A monstrous eagle-like beast erupts from the stone, carrying 3 riders on its back. The system pinged without warning. Heavenbreaker Hard Arts morphed into true Heavenbreaker Hard Arts. The surge hit Han like a live wire. His speed jumped by 30%, cooldown timers sliced in half, and both health and mana spiked. His absolute evil points climbed to 3, charisma hit 10, and every base stat leapt close to 10 points higher. Seiya, leaning over to sneak a look at his stats, smirked with a mix of curiosity and mild disbelief. Si-song shot him a look like, "Are you already busted level strong?" Han didn't bother denying it. Si-song then asked if anyone had ever broken 90. Seiya dropped the bomb that she'd already broken 100 in some areas. That hit Han like a gut punch. Yeah, she wasn't your average player. Before the moment could settle, the system cut in again. Celt Legacy cleared. A final message sealed the deal. True Heavenbreaker Hard Arts now unlocked for absolute evil players. Then came the kicker. 32 seconds to exit or hunt mode activates. A nasty little trap. They didn't waste a heartbeat. They scaled down the cliff with surgical precision. The second their feet hit the ground, Seiya let out a breath. Quest done. But quiet never lasts. Seiya's eyes narrowed, pointing toward the slope. Figures in full armor were waiting. Not randoms. Bounty hunters. The Ramtadian bounty was still hot, and these guys were clearly convinced Han was the prize. Relentless, stubborn, and very much here for him. Before anyone could move, a shadow dropped from above. Kang Museok. His landing near Bok Bok sent dust flying. Sia's voice trembled with a half-question about escape, but Kang cut in, locking eyes with Han. His tone was final. The chase ends here. He called Han Ramtadian like it was fact carved in stone. Han's voice dropped, instructing Luna and Marion to stay out of sight. Kang's confidence bled into every step as he floated closer, literally flying, no doubt courtesy of his constellation. A system notice blinked. Scheme activated. The bounty hunters stayed quiet, knowing exactly how serious this was. Kang didn't even try to hide his name. His title boomed, Red-Flamed Gladiator, Shinsong board member, first constellation. Fire wrapped around him like living armor. This wasn't about grabbing a bounty anymore. It was a damn PR stunt to flex Shinsong's power. Then out of nowhere, Bok Bok lunged. His claws raked across Kang, shoving the constellation back. Bok Bok skidded but held his ground at the cliff's edge, unshaken. The crowd of hunters froze. Did a pet just shove a constellation-level player? Kang muttered under his breath, clearly rattled. Han didn't let it slide. He mocked Kang, chalking his power up to nothing but money and fancy gear. Kang's fury snapped. All talk of capture vanished. He promised to burn everything down. His equipment roared in response, fire spreading like a second skin. Seiya offered to jump in, but Han shot her down fast. If the 7th constellation revealed herself, the whole damn group would be exposed. Staying hidden was non-negotiable. Kang charged. Han didn't even blink. He cut through the flames and threw a punch that shook the air. The system whispered, 50% damage reduction applied. Didn't matter. The hit still landed like a freight train. Kang's gear went into overdrive. Armor cracked but immediately triggered protective charms and healing bursts. One bounty hunter whispered something about his insane setup. Han? He wasn't impressed. He closed the distance, noting how her skill. Provoked, Kang unleashed Rampaging Flame. The skill tore through the battlefield like a berserk wildfire. Han's health plummeted, but he refused to give an inch. He made a quick hand signal to Bok Bok. No Coco. It was time to call him by his real name. He told Coco to guard the others. Coco dipped his head, sharp and focused. The sky above glowed red, flames painting the clouds. This wasn't a skirmish anymore. It was a full-blown spectacle. Meanwhile, in some polished office far away, Guchan Sung walked into the director's room after a sudden summons. The director, face twisted in irritation, barked about being treated like a corpse just because he'd logged out. He ordered a total media blackout. No leaks, no footage, though he was sure some clips were already slipping through. Staring out the window, he launched into a bitter rant about a broken world where incompetence got rewarded while true strength was buried. He spoke of an inevitable collapse, a reset that would strip away the weak. This generation, he said, will be the last to cling to such naive ideals. Back in the game, Han rode Coco's back, a rare flicker of gratitude crossing his face. This time Seiya and Sisong weren't with them. Coco said nothing, already bracing to lead. His mind flashed back to the earlier fight, his wings scorched, attacks relentless, but he hadn't stopped. When Han's voice cut through the chaos with sharp commands, Coco made up his mind. From now on, he wouldn't just fight hard. He'd listen and follow. They finally make it back to Skydiver HQ. Coco is surrounded by a bunch of kids patching him up while Han is slouched in his office chair like he owns the place. Searchin comes in and slams down a thick stack of reports on his desk. Han glances at the pile, brow furrowing, then asks if this is their big survival plan for the brutal winter ahead. Searchin gives a simple nod. Winters here aren't just cold. They're the kind that chew you up if you aren't ready. Proper gear and heating are non-negotiable. With roughly 800 people now under Skydiver's roof, the math says they'll need at least 8 million gold. Han raises an eyebrow at that. They've been prepping for survival before he even walks in, even though, technically, he's just some NPC coded into their world. Soon they'll probably start drafting resistance blueprints and finance plans like pros. Searchin points out they have 4 billion gold saved, courtesy of Yorhan and Vale's money. He tells her to use whatever she needs, even though his chest tightens just saying it. When she asks for 1.4 billion, he gives her a small nod. As she turns to leave, she casually says she'll let everyone know how generous he is. The Skydevil crew grows even more loyal after that. Han doesn't mind. He has just hit level 50, and with hunting ground restrictions lifting, the gold is about to start rolling in. Far away, inside a stone castle, a red-haired man named Yorhan waits. Lexer, the third elder, arrives shortly after. Yorhan isn't the type to call random meetings, so Lexer looks a little curious. He guesses this is about the Absolute One. Yorhan confirms it. He says he senses ghost energy coming off the guy, enough strength to pass as the next master. The third elder agrees instantly. He won't follow anyone weaker than himself. He reminds Yorhan that he spent years building the Black Floral Group, just like Yorhan has raised Murder Vale. Yet even now, the Black Floral Master can't hold a candle to Yorhan. That imbalance pisses him off. Yorhan asks if the third elder actually thinks he can take the master down. Lexer cuts in sharply. He already knows the master's limits. And the other elders? Same vibe. Impatient. They aren't going to sit around forever. Yorhan says the master isn't what he used to be. He's returned sharper, stronger, good enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the elders. Even without gear, the guy isn't weak. And more importantly, he's the only one who can get supplies from outside. Lexer admits that the master has promised winter gear. Still, Murder Vale controls the capital. Yorhan clarifies, those funds aren't stolen, they're handed over, and the master is using them purely for Skydevil operations. To the master, Yorhan is just one piece in a bigger game. Yorhan tells Lexer to be patient. More military funding will come soon. Then they'll make their move toward the target. Meanwhile, Han and Sia are watching Daily Olympus. Nova has started a project to engineer monsters using redstone and blackstone. If they pull it off, dungeons will be obsolete. The catch? Only a 30% success rate. Sia calls it insane, making monsters from scratch like some evil science project. But it costs a fortune. Han agrees with a shrug. She teases him, saying he's way too chill, especially after wiping out the first continent. Doesn't it bug him that Nova is stealing the headlines? He gives her head a light pat. It doesn't bother him. He has zero interest in spreading the name Absolute Evil. His upcoming opponents can probably spawn monsters too. No point wasting energy on envy. He warns her not to draw too much attention. If she wants to mingle, she should connect with other constellations instead of hovering around him. Being glued to him only makes hiding harder. Finding her own path wouldn't be a bad move. She shoots that down instantly. His buffs are too good, she isn't leaving. Han lets it go, but his mind keeps circling back to Nova's project. Even with a 30% success rate, if the Sky Devils land just one successful result, they can stop scavenging for scraps. Later, she asks where they're headed next. He answers without hesitation. Sky-flowing river. Huge beasts wander freely, floppy-eared elephants, hippos that fire off cannon blasts, two-headed gators. Nova has basically locked the area down to protect their redstone flow. That's why they have Zeta with them, the sixth elder, infamous for his wide-area nukes. After unlocking True Heaven Shackle and Ghost Art, Han isn't bothering to hide his absolute evil identity anymore. They reach the warp portal by the riverbank. Sisong, Sia, and Rufendal are already there. Zeta lingers nearby, cloaked in invisibility. Han splits them into pairs. He reminds Seiya she isn't just a player, she's a constellation. He and Rufendal will go first. Sisong will follow next. Seiya will move only after his signal. A Nova scout spots them and thinks they're Max Chaotix team at first. But then the details hit. Dark magic, zero gear, a giant eagle circling above. Reality clicks. It's the Ramtadian. The scout panics and fires off a message to HQ. The response, "Let the Ramtadian pass," makes his jaw drop. As Han walks up, Nova members step aside, tell him to stick to the boundaries, and let him through the portal. Han raises an eyebrow at that. Rufendal mutters that they probably know how strong he is. Han agrees. The footage of him humiliating Kang has likely spread like wildfire. Even Seiya and Sisong will probably get a free pass now. Makes sense. Kang is a Noe director. Anyone tied to Noe has likely seen the clip. The thought irritates Han. Nearby, a Nova grunt quietly asks what other orders HQ has given. The reply is short. Keep operations normal. Handle it quietly. The area feels too quiet. Han figures they don't have many people nearby. He tells Rufendal to stay close so regrouping will be easier. Rufendal nods, but Kang and his crew are already lurking, watching from the shadows. When the moment looks right, Kang strikes. Han, already expecting it, tells Rufendal calmly to throw up a shield and block the attack. With a small smirk, he adds that Rufendal might even get a couple of buffs out of the hit. The ambush hits fast, but Han doesn't flinch. He snaps into action like he's been waiting for it. He barks at Rufendal to throw up his shield magic and promises to layer buffs over it for extra defense. From across the field, Kang yells for his squad to tighten their chain skills and slip in stun effects for good measure. Rufendal's barrier rises just in time, but he mutters that the blast zone is too wide for him alone. Han shoots him a calm nod. He'll help shoulder the weight. Through the haze, Sisong pushes forward, coughing against the thick smoke, trying to make sense of what the hell is happening. Han calls out, telling her to back off. It's a death trap up there. She freezes, hesitates, then waves for a pause in the assault. The whole scene looks pathetic compared to what she'd imagined. Even that deadly strike, the one that once dropped a constellation, barely scratches the surface. Watching from the sidelines, Nova's frustration boils over. He tries to fire up his troops, warning that anyone standing against Nova will pay dearly. He doesn't get to finish. Coco comes out of nowhere, nails him mid-sentence, and shuts him up for good. Off to the side, Seiya is crouched low, waiting for her signal. She whispers to Han, asking if it's time to move. He tells her to hold. Timing is everything, and this isn't it. When the dust finally begins to clear, Han turns towards Sisong, checking on her. She reassures him, saying she hasn't taken a single hit thanks to his earlier interference. Her jaw tightens. This time she isn't going to hide. She wants to fight alongside him. As their group slides off Coco's back, Nova catches sight of them, rattled that they've survived the earlier strike without a scratch. The fact that their defenses are untouched makes him uneasy. His soldiers, though, are quick to speculate. Maybe these people are just like Rufendal, walking fortresses with zero bite. One of them steps up, volunteering to crush the tank first. Nova doesn't hesitate. He gives the order. Han glances at Rufendal, confirming the recording is rolling. With 70 enemies lined up ahead, Han reminds him to snag any valuable drops once the bloodbath begins. Then Hatchet, one of Nova's meatheads, struts forward and spits his challenge. They are hopelessly outnumbered and outgeared, he says, and should just surrender. If they apologize to director Kang Museok, maybe, just maybe, they'll be spared total annihilation. Han isn't impressed. He calls out the bullshit behind their so-called crimes, mocking their wannabe landlord act. They haven't built this world, haven't drawn a single map, yet act like they own the damn place. He reminds them that Kang Museok is the one who struck first, and dies for it. Han's calm energy makes Hatchet's bluster falter. Confidence cracks as Han's presence burns hotter. Enough talk. Han summons his undead like it's nothing, the ground splitting as his army claws its way up. Sisong adds her own reinforcement magic, boosting their strength. The moment they are on their feet, Han orders the attack and demands Nova's leader step forward. Mercy isn't on the menu. Hatchet, still cooking up a plan to separate Han with healing items and potions, doesn't see the strike coming. Han's fist lands square in his chest. No weapon, just raw force, and Hatchet drops instantly, eyes wide, unable to process how his body has just given out. Han stares down at the man, baffled at the irony. Hatchet is supposed to be a tanker, someone who can shrug off level 80 monsters, but a single hit wrecks him. Without missing a beat, Han orders the undead to clean up the rest. Nova's scouts freeze in disbelief. One hit. One. And their best tank is down. Whispers of retreat ripple through the ranks. The undead are still standing, and panic is spreading fast. The director laughs off the idea of pulling back, assuming the necromancer has blown all his MP on that flashy summon and won't have juice for another round. But Sisong's tactic isn't about endurance, it's pure numbers, overwhelming force. Nova's scouts yell warnings, telling their team not to be fooled and to keep charging. Han doesn't let up. He commands the Death Knights to cut through the front line while warning Sisong to stay back and keep herself safe. She gives a quick nod, watching as Han's aura shifts, Something big is coming. The system triggers, announcing the activation of true heaven-shattering ghost art. Han's stats spike, attack and range jump by 30%, mana cost drop, cooldown slice in half. His mid-tier skill, White Slash, transforms into true White Slash. He doesn't waste a second. The blade cuts through soldiers like they are paper, chaos erupting as the Nova director screams for tankers to hold the line. They never stand a chance. Most are already dead before his order even lands. The system pings, hero-level player killed. 5 absolute evil points gained. A note follows, those points can erase unreasonable elements from his body. Han doesn't fully get it, but files it away. At Nova's HQ, everything goes to hell. Directors scramble as footage of the battle hits the web. Their carefully guarded hunting zone has been breached, and the internet now has a front-row seat to Nova getting dismantled. They rush to scrub the video, trying to bury the evidence, but the damage is done. Back in the field, Sisong turns the undead loose on their former allies. Nova's director watches in terror as fallen soldiers rise, now swinging against their own side. His resolve crumbles as Sisong, voice cold as ice, tells him to give up and accept his fate. Screams echo across the battlefield as Nova's forces crumble. Han cuts through what remains, steady and relentless. The system chimes again. He's looted a rare redstone package once owned by the Blazing Horde. For the first time, real drops are landing in his hands. Curious, Han spends 1 absolute evil point to remove one of those unreasonable elements. His luck stat, which has been buried deep in the negatives, flips positive in a blink. His strength is now maxed. He gives a small, satisfied grin at the boost. Rufendal calls out, telling everyone to scoop up every last item and bring it to Han. Han, meanwhile, wonders if these points can crank up other stats, too. His thoughts are cut off when Rufendal waves him over, urgent. The next wave has arrived. Not just anyone, but the big names. Nova's 3 alien heads, the 3 swords of Nova, step into view. One of them locks eyes with Han, recognizes Ramtadian, and gives a final warning. Surrender now, accept investigation, and maybe they won't wipe him off the map. Han wants the latest intel on the enemy heading their way, and Rufendal doesn't sugarcoat it. Rufendal lays it out. To the left stands Kurtle, a close-range brawler with a chaotic streak maxed out, someone who has clawed their way up from a hidden class. Han gives Kurtle a glance and mutters that he doesn't exactly scream lethal threat. On the right waits Assassin, another hidden class fighter, tied to the Blader style. Front and center stands Rufin, a tanky defense expert. Han remembers Rufendal's obsession with shields and magic walls, and can't help wondering if Rufin is the guy he secretly idolizes. Rufin throws down an ultimatum: surrender quietly, accept an investigation, and maybe avoid being wiped off the map. Han smells bullshit. Their whole approach screams execution, so he stays silent. Rufin warns that if he doesn't answer fast, the fight will start. Han notices they don't have a healer or priest in sight. Bold move, or maybe just plain arrogance. Kurtle charges in first, acting cocky, like Han's lack of gear makes him a pushover. Han stops the strike with nothing but his hands. The shock on their faces is priceless. Even Kurtle has to admit Han is faster and stronger than he guessed, but that moment of realization comes with a fist to the face that sends him flying. Rufin instantly realizes the reports about Han have been laughably wrong. Kurtle isn't dead, which Han grudgingly acknowledges as proof they aren't entirely weak. Han tells Rufendal to keep the camera rolling. Rufin, regrouping, switches to bribery, offering hunting rights, canceling the kill order, and dangling a cushy spot within Nova. 100 million won a year, full access to Nova's rafts and hunting zones, official recruitment, and backing from the big alien bosses. Han doesn't even hesitate. He shoots it down, ripping into Nova's monopoly and control. He makes it clear he isn't here to join their system, he is here to burn it down. He throws the question back at them. Would they be offering this deal if he were just some average scrub? Observers watching the scene start firing off anonymous messages, some clowning on Nova's desperation, others trying to figure out what Han's game is. Han dismisses it all as pathetic bargaining. With the talks dead in the water, Nova's crew declares the negotiations over and rushes him. Han's answer is true White Slash, one clean strike that slices Kurtle in half. Assassin, realizing he'll get flattened in a direct fight, changes targets. He sets his sights on Sisong, thinking her undead-focused necromancer style means weak close combat. He slips into stealth, moving in for a quick kill. But just as he is about to strike, Yorhan appears out of nowhere, cutting him down before he can blink. Assassin's last thought is pure disbelief, taken out by someone he hasn't even sensed. Nova's squad freezes. Assassin is supposed to be a top-tier monster, and now he is a corpse. Whispers spread, he is part of the Black Flora group. Confusion turns to unease, and then panic when someone mutters that the children of Murdervale are in play. The mere hint of Murdervale's leader sends their nerves spiraling. Rufin, watching his best people crumble, is in shock. Murdervale? Here? That monster has never shown his face until now. What is his connection to Han, the Max Chaotic? Before he can make sense of it, Advent of Diva descends. Zeta lands with a lethal declaration. All enemies of the Master will die. He charges into battle without waiting for Han's command. Yorhan apologizes for jumping the gun, but Han waves it off. They've taken out Assassin, and that is what matters. Rufin, now in full desperation mode, begs for another round of talks. He admits lowballing Han with the 100 million offer and promises the best treatment Nova can give if Han joins. Han laughs it off and attacks. He doesn't need Nova's scraps. Rufin takes 4 back-to-back hits, his disbelief written all over his face as he crumbles. Han loots a pouch stuffed with 200,000 gold, marveling at how loaded Nova's people are. Rufendal rushes to gather everything else before any outsiders show up. Sisong asks if Yorhan and Zeta are part of Han's crew. Han confirms they are elders of Sky Devil. Rufendal proudly announces he has already scooped up every last one he can find and offers it all to Han, insisting he shouldn't have to bend down to pick anything up. Yorhan and Zeta look at Rufendal like he is some kind of legend for that level of loyalty. Han wonders just how much loot Rufendal has managed to snag. Then, out of nowhere, an urgent voice cuts through. Coco, the warning is sharp. Everyone hit the ground now. Rufendal and Sisong are told to get airborne. Yorhan and Zeta prep for a fight. Sisong asks what is going on, but Han can only say he doesn't know. Something big is coming. A massive shadow rolls over them. The system lights up with a chilling alert. A new quest has started. Boss Master Raid. The system confirms it. Absolute evil descends, triggered when its energy fuses with the strange conditions of the monster field. Right then, massive boss monsters surface. A chimera with stretched out rabbit ears, another shaped like some weird water gun, and a hulking beast with 2 snarling heads. A fresh raid quest pops up. Boss Monster Raid. Han stares at their sheer size, impressed and slightly pissed at how huge they are. Zeta, studying the monsters, gives a blunt verdict. This fight might be too much, even for him and Hai, especially with Han's current limits. His suggestion? Back off for now. Yorhan, worried about Han getting wrecked, sides with Zeta. But Han shuts them down hard. He isn't backing away. He asks if they doubt him. Their silence is all the answer he needs. Then watch me, he says, ready to move. The system chimes in again, confirming the bosses have spawned specifically to react to the absolute evil's arrival. Han understands instantly. These aren't just any monsters. They are designed under conditions that only he can break. The heaven-shattering ghosts surge violently as his energy meshes perfectly with the absolute evil's power. When he steps forward, the bosses don't even twitch. They are locked in place, frozen under the suffocating pressure pouring off him. Confident, Han walks straight toward them. Zeta and Yorhan can only watch, their faces lit with awe. A notification follows. A hidden peace fragment has just been completed. Because of the unusual conditions surrounding these monsters, the absolute evil is now in perfect sync with them, holding absolute advantage. The bosses shiver under his energy, like they know death is coming. Zeta, who once admired Han for trashing the Nova aliens, is blown away by how insanely strong he's become in such a short time. Yorhan, deeply shaken, quietly admits Han isn't the same man anymore. Another system alert rolls in. Han has cleared hidden requirements and unlocked a hidden skin reward. A moment later, the boss monsters vanish, defeated without a fight. Meanwhile, in the glass towers of Nova Alien HQ, a tense meeting is underway. They've just detected a skill surge, and Jung-hoon reports that the max chaotic player has made it across the sky-flowing river. When asked for details, Jung-hoon confirms the guy's level, 50. Panic ripples through the executives. Nova's dominance has just taken a hit, and even their golden prodigies, the 3 swords, haven't been able to hold the line against this one player. The trio stands there, heads down, mumbling apologies. The higher-ups don't dump all the blame on them. The truth is obvious. This player's strength is off the charts. Still, the leadership tears into the lack of foresight. If his true potential had been scoped out earlier, Nova could have cut a deal instead of watching everything go sideways. Missing that chance stings. This Max Chaotic isn't just strong. He doesn't even fit the damn rulebook. Sitting at level 50 and already dominating headlines, he's become impossible to ignore. Governments are starting to notice. Even the US. Justice Alliance is sniffing around, figuring out how to use him as a weapon of their own. Nova's official stance? He has to be erased. A chaotic player like this doesn't belong in any structured world. That danger only escalates now that he has allies. Looking back at everything the player has done, Kang sees a pattern, and it all points to one chilling possibility. He's the absolute evil, Kang says. Every damn thing he's done lines up with it. Turning to his grandson, Mu Sueok, Kang speaks of his vision for the future. One where elites no longer have to be sacrificed just to keep the system safe. The player will be branded as absolute evil for the public eye. Kang will steer public opinion, push the narrative until it sticks. But behind the curtain, they'll still keep one card open. If this monster of a player can be tamed or persuaded, Nova will gladly recruit him. Strength is always worth buying. Back in the field, Han launches another brutal strike. His fists smash into a monstrous elephant, deadly fist blazing with raw power. Kang's voice echoes in the boardroom. Before any kind of deal, this player needs to be cornered. No matter how strong he thinks he is, he's just one person. Nova will make him learn that an individual, no matter how legendary, can never outrun the weight of a well-oiled empire. Han, unstoppable and deadly, finishes the fight with a single, crushing strike as he lunges forward. The system's cold voice echoes. The two-headed Chimera boss is down. The creature's hulking body crumples. That is the last of them. All three bosses are history. The system promptly declares the raid complete and starts rolling out rewards. History itself shifts. Han takes a moment to think about it, calling it nothing short of a blowout victory. The absolute evil energy is worth the risk. A new reward message pops up, 300,000 gold, a level up, and 0.3 absolute evil points. He frowns slightly, wondering if this payout is just for the boss kills. If so, shouldn't a few monster stones be thrown into the mix? As if on cue, the system dumps 3 black stones into his inventory. Han is caught off guard. Yorhan and Zeta shout his name. Han asks, half to himself, if this is even real. The system clarifies. Among every kind of monster stone, black stones sit at the very top. In the 2 centuries since Olympus goes live, they've only surfaced 3 times. Their rarity is absurd. Han stares down at them, memories flooding back, and a grin pulls at his mouth. Yorhan mutters that their master looks awfully pleased. Zeta guesses it is because Han has just gone full throttle with his strength. Yorhan shakes his head. This feels like something else. Right then, a visitor shows up. The head of the Justice Alliance arrives, offering a polite greeting and a relieved comment that he isn't late. From behind him, Ellen, the director of Blueheart, steps out, cutting the air with an order for everyone to freeze. Han instinctively steps back as the captain closes the gap, wondering when this alien slips behind him. The head stands his ground, fixing his gaze on Han. Meanwhile, Sisong, Han, and Zeta shift to the side as Yorhan guides the aliens forward. Yorhan asks what the plan is. The newcomers introduce themselves. Ellen moves up, stating her name and title. The head confirms she is aligned with their group. Ellen turns to Han, asking for his attention. She lays it out, they want to recruit him. The package? A signing bonus and 300 million won yearly salary, an exclusive gear set, access to Blue Heart-controlled hunting zones, black maps, and full operational backing. Ellen wants his thoughts. At that exact moment, the Justice Alliance captain chimes in with his own pitch. A 300 million won signing bonus, 500 million won annual salary, plus a rare item set. Han keeps quiet, listening. They emphasize that even someone like him can't last long without shielding from the great aliens. Ellen adds that if he rejects their backing, his access to trade networks on the Korean peninsula could get locked down. Their influence is heavy here. Han acknowledges their words but shrugs it off mentally. So what? He has his own ways to gather and sell items. Their deals don't bring anything new to the table. To prove his point, he lets his energy surge. 3 hidden monsters materialize, ready to pounce. A heartbeat later, they are all dead, and he has already looted their drops. Looking at the spoils, Han decides 500 million won isn't even worth blinking at. With his skills, he can pull that amount without breaking a sweat. Ellen stays silent, unsettled. Han's true strength dwarfs everything she has seen in the recorded footage. To him, their numbers are pocket change. Han flatly states that he isn't interested. Ellen pauses, then excuses herself with polite formality. The Justice Alliance captain speaks again, correcting the record. Apparently, there has been a mix-up. The salary they offer isn't 500 million won. It is $500 million. Han freezes, absorbing that. Oh, he hears wrong. He thinks they have been talking about won. Suddenly, the offer feels massive. He asks Ellen if her side has upped their numbers too, but she confirms it is still in Korean won. The head tilts his head, almost questioning if his side is overshooting. Either way, the contrast is ridiculous. Blueheart has sent a director with 300 million won, while Justice sends both their captain and head with $500 million. The head glances at Ellen, asking if her offer really boils down to just $300,000. For someone of Han's caliber, 300 million won isn't just low, it is insulting. He only hopes Han doesn't take it that way. He assures him that Justice respects his decision, but if a chance ever comes up, they will be ready. Han replies that if he ever signs with anyone, Justice will be at the top of his list. Ellen, still reeling, can't believe the disparity. She has heard Justice is flush with funds, but this is next level. Han catches Ellen zoning out and asks what is on her mind. She quickly apologizes and says that if there is nothing else, she will head out. Han doesn't stop her. As she walks away, her annoyance is written all over her face. Inside, she curses him, a cocky brat who doesn't know his place. The system pings Ellen, asking for a status update. She says he is exactly the arrogant jerk they have been warned about. The voice on the other end agrees, calling him trash. After cutting the connection, Ellen mulls over what upper management will do now. Most likely, they will try to make Han realize he can't handle everything solo. For now, she has one order: retrieve the pouch she has mentioned earlier. It is critical. Ellen confirms and ends the call. The other party thinks about how Han has managed to make yet another enemy. They don't know what he is scheming, but for now, the situation leans in their favor. If Ellen secures the pouch, things could shift fast. Back in the present, Han thinks about the black stone, wondering how to unleash its power for maximum impact, how to make its presence known to the world. His phone rings. The number isn't saved. He picks up. A familiar voice comes through. It is Si-song. Han is surprised, especially since he never even given her his number. She laughs softly, confirms it is her, and asks if he has a moment. She says she is with Seiya and wonders if they can meet, even if just for a quick chat. At the cafe, Han walks in and immediately spots Si-song and Seiya sitting side by side. Seiya wastes no time explaining that she has set up this meet and greet and even passed his number to Si-song, thinking it will be good for them to connect at least once. She throws in a casual remark about how pretty Si-song is, then asks for his thoughts. When he doesn't say anything, she gives him a pointed look and asks why he is so quiet. Han's irritation flares, his words coming out sharp. He makes it clear that he isn't interested in any offline meetups. Honestly, he hasn't even wanted to leave the house but comes just to deliver a warning. Things are too sensitive right now. Every word, every slip-up outside the game could hand someone a clue they shouldn't have. They need to watch themselves. He reminds them that a single careless move could set off dangerous assumptions. He doubles down, telling them to be smart about nicknames, both in the game and in real life, and to keep their language and habits in check. Turning to Si-song, his tone hardens as he tells her never to share her nickname with anyone. And as for her class, best not to say a word about that either. When Si-song hesitates, he repeats himself. She finally murmurs a quiet acknowledgement. Seiya, stunned by his hard edge, asks why he is acting like the sky is falling when nothing has even gone wrong yet. He shoots back that Seiya will be dealing with consequences at home too. Then, with a glare, he demands to know who exactly gave her the bright idea to hand out his number. Seiya stammers something about them being partners, but Han cuts her off mid-sentence, shooting down the excuse and hammering in the same warning, don't screw around and don't slip up. With that, he announces that he has other business and walks out of the cafe. As he leaves, Seiya mutters under her breath, baffled, wondering who would even bother paying them that much attention anyway. She turns to Si-song with an apologetic shrug, saying Han isn't normally like this. Si-song stays quiet, mulling over the odd impression he leaves on her. From the very first time she has seen him, there has been something about him, a kind of unspoken steadiness that makes her feel strangely safe. He always steps up in critical moments, quietly looking out for her. That quiet strength has made her want to meet him face to face, just to thank him. She remembers Seiya joking earlier that Han's jaw would hit the floor if he ever saw her in real life. That comment now feels almost laughable. Does he seriously not care how she looks at all? The thought sticks with her longer than she expects. Back in the game, Rufendal walks up during their expedition and hands Han a bundle of gear. Han ruffles the kid's hair with a light pat. Rufendal insists that he doesn't want any reward. Just tagging along and learning from Han is enough for him. Han gives a quiet smirk. If the kid knows Han is stashing the rarest stones around Blackstones, he will probably faint on the spot. That's when Han notices something new in his inventory. A video stone, apparently dropped when he takes Ellen's pouch earlier. The system pings him, letting him know the recordings stored inside are now accessible. He scrolls through the files, frowning slightly. The footage shows rap battle scenes, clips of hunting grounds, and documents tied to exclusive rights deals and shady kickbacks. As Han pieces it all together, it finally clicks. This is why Ellen has tried to tempt him with $1 billion to take over the rap. Everything suddenly makes sense. Yorhan appears, calling his name. Han responds, and Yorhan fills him in on a private rap portal hidden north of the Corganus Mountains on the Runia continent, under the control of Ellen's alien crew. One captain stationed there has been abusing his position, milking it for personal gain. Yorhan mentions that he has already sent out an order. Once that captain steps out of the safe zone, he will be taken out. Han, meanwhile, eyes the video stone with a different perspective. It isn't just footage, it is leverage. Used right, it can be a serious weapon against the aliens. At the rap office, Byung-eun stands in front of the public sentiment board, scanning the comments tearing into Ramtadian, mocking how someone with zero pedigree can suddenly act like a king just because he has gained some power. Byung-eun's face twists with cold disdain. His gaze shifts to a massive monitor as breaking news flashes across the screen. The identity of the absolute evil has been confirmed. He grudgingly admits Han's individual combat power is insane, one-man army level. But still, why the hell would Han poke Mosaic and make the entire world an enemy? From where Byung-eun stands, declaring himself absolute evil is basically burning every bridge. Han hasn't just pissed off Mosaic, he has crossed Ellen's alien faction too. And there is no way Ellen will just sit back and let that slide. Once the top-ranked aliens start moving, everyone else will follow. Pushing back from his seat, Byung-eun's expression darkens. Sheer strength can only get you so far. Eventually Han will have to hop between continents, and that means using rap portals. Cut off access to those and he will be stuck. And if the aliens block him from selling items on the market, he will be no better than some broke drifter. Right as that thought hits, a market alert blinks on Olympus Mania's board. A new headline pops up. A legendary Blackstone has surfaced. Byung-eun narrows his eyes at the screen, trying to make sense of it. If Han has his hands on something that rare, the game might be even messier and far more dangerous than he has realized. Word spreads like wildfire, carrying a jolt of thrill. The Blackstone is back. Sources trace it straight to the Korean server, and the world immediately loses its collective mind, speculating how high its auction price might go. Its return isn't just news, it's an earthquake. The Blackstone's very presence rattles markets and media down to their bones. This is why news bosses demand instant coverage, swearing they'll be first on scene no matter what it costs. Inside the Alliance leader's office, the air turns sharp with tension as a subordinate reports back, the Blackstone's current owner isn't selling. The refusal is blunt, and the reason is borderline petty. It's that same Max Chaotic from the recent chaos, and he just plain hates Nova. The leader's gaze darkens. Now, someone both powerful and irrational holds the Blackstone, and that flips the entire table. Back in game, Sia fumes silently, scrolling through endless articles trashing her brother. None of it adds up in her head. Each piece drips with slander and warped narratives. Her blood boils as she realizes any sliver of public support he had is gone. Our hero himself scans the headlines with resigned calm, having seen this coming miles away. Seiya, shaking with rage, kicks a tree hard enough to rattle its leaves. He watches her quietly, commenting on her wasted anger. She shoots back, her voice cracking with exhaustion, and threatens to drag every reporter to court. Sisong, standing close, nods with clenched fists. She just can't link the man before her with the monster painted in those reports. Han accepts her words silently, wondering if he's ever shown her anything worthy of such unwavering faith. But that thought doesn't matter right now. Smear campaigns were inevitable. With Nova and Ellen branding him as their enemy, this kind of media onslaught is part of the package. Public opinion, though, isn't his problem anymore. He's got the Blackstone, and he's about to sell it off to the highest bidder. No matter what they put on the table, they're never getting it outright. Auction day arrives. Attendees crowd into the derelict Coliseum on the Centennia continent. Lines outside buzz with frustration. All warp gates under Nova and Eileen's control have collapsed, an obvious ploy to keep the Blackstone from leaving their turf. Han already covered his bases. He'd coordinated with Searshan to drop the auction location just 3 minutes before kickoff to keep last-minute sabotage at bay. Standing with Yorhan, Zeta, and Lexo, he runs through the plan in his head. Searshan's strategies hold strong. Even the most insane conditions are being met without pushback. No one wants to risk getting booted out. Security is airtight. Everyone's stripped of weapons at the door. Only a skeleton crew of guards remains inside, bound by strict orders. Neutral elders oversee everything. Murder wheels ring the arena as a brutal deterrent. The rules are ironclad. Any whiff of violence ends with a swift, messy execution. Names of those barred from the auction flash publicly, deliberately provoking them. Shamed and furious, many will definitely retaliate. With final checks done, the auction rules boom across the arena. Inside, tension is electric. The crowd waits as our hero steps into the center, greeting them with cold politeness. He apologizes for the harsh entry checks and announces that bidding will happen strictly in gold. No starting price. The bids will rise as they see fit. Before his words finish echoing, someone yells out a bid of 600 billion gold. Bids rocket up without pause. 700 billion, 750 billion, 800 billion, then 860 billion gold. The numbers climb like they've lost their brakes. In his head, he counts them out. 1 trillion, then 2 trillion. Wild that something so small can spark such seismic ripples. Then the real shocker drops. Someone throws down a bid of 30 trillion gold. The entire arena freezes. The bidder is Randall, a filthy rich mogul who rules the Faria continent on the Middle Eastern server. Users from there rarely leave their domain, making his presence and his colossal bid hit even harder. Another guy jumps in with 31 trillion, repeating it with stubborn pride. Randall barely blinks, coolly raising the stakes to 50 trillion gold. His smile screams unshaken confidence. Watching from the side, Searshan feels certain the auction is about to end right there. The first master auction closing at that figure seems inevitable, but Han isn't calling it just yet. He asks for more bids, scanning the crowd intently. Searshan narrows his gaze. This is when he expects hidden players to finally crawl out from the shadows. Suddenly, pandemonium erupts. A crazed man bellows that absolute evil is here to slaughter them all, cackling with a bomb clutched in his hand. Our hero spins toward the voice and instantly recognizes them as Nova's lackeys. The madman screeches that this is all in absolute evil's name and hurls the bomb into the crowd. Han recalls Searshan's warning. The pastor's plan is chaos. Their aim, choke user movement from other continents by marking rap points with cursed signs, cutting them off. When that flops, they unleash terror attacks. Suicidal explosions meant to sow panic and brand the event as a cultist massacre. The tactic is laughable. Han realizes now just how dead-on that assessment was. He shouts for Yorhan. As fear ripples outwards, Yorhan moves with lethal speed. Appearing behind an attacker, he neutralizes them before they can do further harm. His sheer presence slices through the chaos like a blade. It baffles our hero how perfectly the attackers follow Searshan's forecast, down to every desperate detail. Their sabotage lands with precision, but it was never unexpected. And with that, the real battle begins.